Chapter 1034. Hercules Air Gooden Ugh. Lenny paused, but he remembered that Air Gooden was just a nickname. Air Gooden's real name wasn't Air Gooden, so people who weren't familiar with him wouldn't know. But everyone in Star West Village should know this name. But Lenny still said, "It's Zhou Jiaming." Zhou Jiaming was Air Gooden's real name. Of course, in the village, people called people by their nicknames. Very few people called people by their real names. This was different from a city. Zhou Jiaming? The man on the other side of the line paused, but he still said, "Wait, I'll ask for you." "Auntie, someone's looking for Zhou Jiaming. Do you know him?" "I know." "Okay, go set up the goods. I'll take the call." Widow Wang's voice came from the other side of the phone. After a while, Widow Wang picked up the phone. "You're looking for Air Gooden?" "Auntie Wang, it's me, Lily." Lenny smiled. "Who was that?" "It's my relative's child from another village. He came here to help me with the work." "Isn't the spring plowing over? When the villagers are free, they often come here to drink." "I can't do it alone," Widow Wang said. "I see. No wonder he doesn't know Air Gooden." Lin Yi understood. In Star West Village, there were a lot of people who didn't know Lin Yi, but there were very few who didn't know Air Gooden. "Haha, wait here. I'll get Air Gooden to answer the phone for you." Widow Wang put the phone aside and went to the village's megaphone to shout, "Air Gooden, Air Gooden, Air Gooden, I'm Ronnie Wang. There's a call for you." Widow Wang's voice came from the loudspeaker, shocking Lin Yi on the other side of the phone. Gooden was hunting in the mountains. He just finished dinner and went to the mountains to stretch his body. He didn't expect to hear the village's loudspeaker calling for him. Gooden guessed that the call was from his boss, Lin Yi. He didn't waste time picking up the dead boar and running down the mountain. This wild boar was at least 300 to 400 kilograms, but Gooden didn't seem to be using any strength at all. He was running like he was flying, as if he was carrying no weight at all. At the foot of the mountain was West Star Village. Almost all the villagers were outside, playing cards and chess. They didn't seem surprised at all when they saw Gooden running down the mountain with the bear on his shoulder. "Air Gooden, you went hunting again? This wild boar can be sold for a good price, right?" An old man said enviously. "Haha, it's all right." Gooden smiled honestly. "Air Gooden, when are you going to get the robes you promised Master Wang?" A village woman asked. Her husband sold wild animals, and he often caught wild chickens and robes to sell in the market. He used to catch them with traps, but Gooden patted his chest and bought them, saying that he'd help whenever he needed the robes. "Auntie Chong, I'm in a hurry to answer the phone today. I'll get the robes for you tomorrow." Gooden nodded. This Gooden was a legend in the village. When he was 8, he went hunting alone in the mountains. The first day he came back, the villagers saw a black bear coming down the mountain and walking into the village, scaring them to death. They shouted, "The bear is in the village," and all went back to their homes. But when the black bear walked into the village, everyone realized that under the bear's huge body, there was a small, skinny figure. It was Air Gooden, who came back from hunting, but compared to the black bear's body, Air Gooden's body was insignificant. They were far away, and it was dark, so the villagers couldn't see Gooden clearly. It was only when they got closer that they realized that the black bear had been killed by Gooden. This shocked the villagers, and they couldn't help but praise Gooden's godly strength. But everything had a freshness, and once the freshness wore off, they wouldn't be surprised anymore. It was the same with Air Gooden. From then on, he killed wild wolves, wild boars, vultures, and other wild beasts. Everyone was used to it now. Gooden threw the wild boar on the ground. Everyone split it. "If we can't finish it, we'll give the rest to my dad to sell." Gooden was a simple and honest man. He wouldn't keep things to himself. Every time he went hunting, he would think of the villagers and give them something for free. So everyone had a good impression of him. In fact, everyone was drooling over the wild boar meat. Normal people couldn't kill a wild boar. There was a saying, 1 boar, 2 bears, 3 tigers. It meant that the wild boar was stronger than a bear or a tiger. Only Gooden could kill a wild boar so easily. If it was someone else, they might have been killed by the boar. After saying that, he quickly ran to Widow Wang's house, and the rest of the villagers happily helped him clean up the wild boar. Of course, they weren't greedy people. They would get some of the meat, but it was the parts that weren't easy to sell. The parts that were easy to sell, like the pork knuckle, they would leave them for Gooden. Gooden excitedly ran into the shop and picked up the phone. Hello. Gooden, it's me, Lynn. Lynn, he heard Gooden's voice and smiled. Linny, bro, I knew it was you. Are you in a hurry? I'll leave in 2 days. Gooden said embarrassedly, it's still far from the autumn harvest, and the family doesn't have much income. I'm thinking of hunting some wild animals for my dad to sell before I leave. Otherwise, the family won't have any income. Didn't I tell you to get it from my old man? Lynn, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You can pay for the road. I'm thinking I'll earn the money for the house. I have hands and feet. Hunting isn't a problem. Gooden said with an honest smile. All right, come back as soon as you're done. I really miss you. Linny sighed. I really want you to stay in Songshan forever. I want to follow you, boss, to explore the world. But I can't. Gooden frowned and said helplessly, I can't leave home for too long. That's right. Apart from that spiritual spring, there's really no other alternative solution. Linny sighed, but it's fine, you just have to come out once in a while. Chapter 1035. Chapter 1033, Being Xiao Xiao's Best Friend. All right, write down my phone number and address. Contact me when you get to Songshan. I'll pick you up. Lin, he said as he gave Gooden his phone number and address. Gooden found a piece of paper and wrote it down before putting it in his pocket. After the call with Gooden, Lin, he got home. The Miss and Shu were still watching TV on the sofa. Chill, bro. I did well today, didn't I? Yushu said excitedly when she saw Lin and Xiao Xiao, and I became best friends. Yeah, but we need to keep working hard and try to improve. Lin, he nodded. Improve? Yushu asked. Yeah, it'd be best if we could become best friends, just like you and Yao Yao. Linny said. Best friend? That's not possible, right? She's my love rival. Yushu scratched her head, troubled. Linny didn't say anything. He took out his phone and opened the photo album, showing Xiao Xiao's wishes to Yushu. Xiao Xiao has a few wishes, and she doesn't have much time left, so I want to help her fulfill them one by one. Oh. Yushu paused and took the phone. She read the words on the photo. I really want to have a best friend. I can talk to her about the loneliness in my heart. I can share happiness and sadness with her on the same bed. But I'm destined to never have a true friend. I don't want my best friend to feel pain because of my death. Meng Yao came over curiously as well, frowning as she looked at the photo on Linny's phone. Linny, where did you see this? From Xiao Xiao's phone. Linny didn't hide it. There's a file called My Wish. I just opened it. I didn't think I see. Meng Yao nodded. Xiao Xiao's wish moved Meng Yao. Having a best friend was a normal thing, but in Xiao Xiao's eyes, it was an extravagant wish. Especially Xiao Xiao's reason. It made Meng Yao feel even more bitter. What a great spirit it is to not let a good friend be sad. Shu, we want to be Xiao Xiao's best friends. Meng Yao raised her fist and said word by word. Oh, okay. Yushu nodded after seeing that Meng Yao had agreed. To tell the truth, most of what she did today was to coax Xiao Xiao, but being a BFF wasn't as simple as that. If she didn't open her heart to Xiao Xiao, then she wouldn't be a BFF at all. Xiao Xiao only wanted to be Lin Yi's small wife, and she wasn't a threat to her position at all. Plus, she was about to die, so Yushu didn't think much of it. The two came to an agreement, and the matter was settled for now. But Yushu suddenly realized that the picture wasn't the last one, so she kept scrolling. Lin Yi wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Yushu's hands were faster, and she was already scrolling. If Lin Yi were to take the phone back now, it would mean that something was wrong. Lin Yi couldn't help but regret taking a picture of that threesome wish. Yushu and Meng Yao read Xiao Xiao's other wishes, but they weren't really interested in things like racing or watching the sunrise. It had nothing to do with them, but when they saw Xiao Xiao's threesome, their eyes went wide, their mouths wide open. I've decided I'll give this difficult mission to my boyfriend, let him push her down, and then we'll have threesome. Ha! Xiao Xiao, you're a super genius. But it seems like a daydream. Yushu and Meng Yao couldn't help but look at each other after reading the content on the phone. After a long while, Yushu sighed, holy shit, this Xiao Xiao is even stronger than me? She wants to do threesome with a superstar? I just want to do it with Yao Yao. Shu, what the hell are you talking about? Meng Yao glared at Yushu, suddenly feeling a sense of regret. One shoe was enough to give her a headache, and she actually agreed to be Xiao Xiao's best friend. Xiao Xiao was someone similar to Shu, and if she were to become her best friend, wouldn't she be breaking down all day long? After the two of them got together, wouldn't the already shocking idea become even more shocking? This Xiao Xiao wanted to do threesomes, and with just a discussion with Yushu, they'd be able to do 4 or 5. Hee hee, but that's a good wish. Su Shirhan is Yao Yao's my idol too. Shield bro, you need to work hard. Yushu waved her phone at Lin. I don't mind doing threesomes with a superstar. HM, 4 or 5 with Yao Yao. Lin, he held his forehead, speechless. His heart was exploding. This sounded exciting, but Lin, he just couldn't believe it. Meng Yao slapped her forehead as well, almost fainting from the shock. What was she supposed to do now that Yushu had said it out loud? What was she supposed to do? What was she supposed to do in the future? I'll go check on Faubert. Linny took the phone back from Yushu and walked to Faubert's room. I'll go wash up and sleep. Meng Yao said, defeated. I'll go too, Yushu said happily, following Meng Yao like a shadow. He walked to Faubert's room. The door wasn't locked, so he pushed it open and walked in. Faubert was practicing on his bed when he felt Linny walk in. He opened his eyes slowly. You're back? Evidently, he didn't hear the conversation between Lin, and Meng Yao in the living room. He could only sense movements within a certain range. Yeah, how is it, Faubert? Linny nodded. I've already started training my family's martial arts again. Golden class late phase peak. This is a good starting point. I'm already satisfied. Uncle Fu said this from the bottom of his heart. He didn't seem to be forcing it at all. Faubert, I want to try again. Linny said, unwilling to give up. What he didn't understand was that since Uncle Fu could absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, why couldn't he absorb the universal energy in the space of the jade pendant? Chapter 1036. A strange case, Lin. You didn't say much and walked in front of Faubert. He placed both of his hands on Faubert's meridians and activated the art of dragon mastery. Uncle Fu also cooperated and began to circulate his family's incantation. 10 minutes later, Lin gave up decisively. There was no effect at all. The situation was the same as before. Lin couldn't give his energy to Faubert, and Faubert wouldn't absorb the energy Lin gave him. It seemed like it was like what Jiao Lao said. There was a limit to the level of this energy transfer. He could only transfer energy to practitioners who were of a lower level than him, and the peak of the lower level was the final bottleneck. In other words, as long as he didn't reach Earth class, he wouldn't be able to make Faubert and General Weiwu into Mystic class. At first, Linny thought that his ability to mass-produce masters was already very powerful, but now it seemed like it was useless. Although he could create golden-class masters were still a rare existence in the secular world, and they were extremely rare. A golden-class master was already very powerful, but the problem was that the enemies and pressure Lin he was facing now didn't come from the common world, but from the noble houses of a higher level. In these noble houses, golden-class masters were very common. Most of them were mystic-class masters, and there were even some earth-class masters. In front of these people, the two golden-class masters, Faubert and General Weiwu, were useless. Lin, he had to rely on his own strength to face them. Forget it. It was better than nothing. Lin, he sighed. Some people wanted golden-class masters, but didn't have them. He could mass-produce them now. With that thought, Linny gave up on the idea of creating Faubert and returned to his room. On the surface, Songzhan was quite safe these days. The thief organization was gone, and the kidney trafficking organization was destroyed. The evil forces led by Tsihua had also laid low, and they didn't make any big moves. Logically speaking, Lingshan should be happy in this kind of peaceful atmosphere. And in fact, the leader did praise Lingshan a few times. Ever since she became the captain, Songshan's security had improved a lot, and Lingshan had been solving big cases time and time again. She was the fastest person in Songshan's history to solve a case. Lingshan, on the other hand, was a little uneasy. In many cases, there was a bigger conspiracy behind the calm. After all, There have been a couple of missing persons cases in Songsan recently. They looked like normal cases, but Lingshan felt that things weren't that simple. Wang Lai used to be a migrant worker. 3 days ago, he had a conflict with the labor contractor because of a wage issue. After beating up the labor contractor, he disappeared. According to the information, Wang Lai was a very strong migrant worker. He had a lot of strength, and it was easy for him to beat up the labor contractor and his bodyguards. The labor contractor didn't even report it to the police. It was a street vendor selling snacks near the construction site who saw the fight and called the police. Wang Lai's disappearance made everyone think that he ran away. The police who went to investigate the case, naturally, wouldn't interfere. After all, the labor contractor said that it was fine, and he didn't want to pursue the matter. This could be seen as a normal civil dispute. If the victim's family didn't want to pursue the matter, why would they? Besides, the labor contractor wasn't hurt, not even a light injury. Therefore, the police simply recorded it down and left. If it weren't for the fact that something similar had happened recently, this seemingly random case wouldn't have caught Lingshan's attention. Now that the case was in front of Lingshan's desk once more, she frowned at the unusualness of it. Although Wang Lai injured the labor contractor before, the labor contractor did not suffer much damage. There were just some bruises on his body and some scratches on his face. The same was true for the bodyguards. They did not even have any broken bones. Under these circumstances, was there a need for Wang Lai to run away? Even the police didn't want to arrest him. Why would he run? From the labor contractor's words, it was obvious that he was unlucky. Wang Lai could have found out about these things by asking around, but Wang Lai disappeared. The second case was similar to this one. Sun Kaoli was a stevedore for a freight company. When he was working, he accidentally broke a piece of glassware. His boss didn't say anything. He didn't even mention deducting his salary. Yet, Sun Kaoli disappeared. Why the hell was Sun Kaoli running? When Sun Kaoli disappeared, the boss felt that something was wrong and called the police. But after calling the police, they realized that nothing was missing from the company, and the reason for Sun Kaoli's escape was something they had to think about. Of course, this wasn't much. If these two missing cases were coincidental, then what about today's case? Yang Maolin was a small gangster, bullying people around the market. Today, when he was collecting protection money, he bumped into someone who was serious, and so he used the scale plate on the side to smack the guy's face into a pulp. After washing away the blood, it was just a nose bleeding. It wasn't a big deal at all. Everyone thought that this was over, and the guy who got beaten up would obediently hand over protection money the next day. It wasn't like Yang Maolin hadn't beaten up merchants before. There were a lot more serious cases, but it wasn't a big deal. But the guy who got beaten up wasn't happy and called the police. The police came to mediate the situation. After all, Yang Maolin was the manager of this farmer's market, and he was collecting money for benefits. It could be seen as a commercial action of a mall collecting rent. It was a little more than usual, but the guy didn't have to come at all. Even if they were to argue about it, they wouldn't be able to come out with a good reason. The market was private, and it was normal for Yang Maolin to collect fees. You didn't pay up, so you got punched. It was a normal civil dispute. But the weird thing was that Yang Maolin disappeared after he beat up the guy. Never seen again. It looked like he was afraid that something would happen to the guy, and so he ran away. But in reality, the guy who got beaten up wasn't a problem at all. If these three incidents were to be singled out, they could all be regarded as coincidences. But when the three incidents were put together, it was somewhat unusual. Chapter 1037. Chapter 1035. Miss Yulingshan felt like there was a problem here, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Why did these people run away? Where did they go? What was their purpose? This series of questions gave Lingshan a headache. On the surface, nothing had happened yet, and Lingshan's actions made it seem like she was making a fuss over nothing. But Lingshan was a person who hated evil. Things that didn't make sense to her would always be suspicious of them. Phew! Lingshan put the file aside and rubbed her temples. It seemed like being a leader wasn't that easy after all. It was much easier being a soldier. She had to worry about all these things, and she didn't want anything to happen to the peaceful Songsan. She hoped that she was just being too sensitive and that it was just a coincidence. Who knew what Lin Yi was doing? Lin Yi had lost contact with Ling Shan recently, and Ling Shan wanted to call him to ask about Lin Yi's whereabouts, but she didn't have a good reason to do so. She'd always asked Lin Yi to help her solve cases, but now that she didn't have an excuse, she didn't know what to say. Ling Shan knew about the things that happened in Songzhan a couple of days. With her position, it was only natural that she knew everything that happened in Songzhan. House Yu, Xiao family, and the hidden house, Zhao, all went to Peng Zhan's house to force him to abdicate. Ling Shan knew about all of this, but she couldn't do anything about it. She came from a noble house, and she knew that when it came to noble houses, the rules and methods of the common world didn't have much of an effect on them. Ling Shan really wanted to help, but thinking that she was a golden class late phase, she knew that she wouldn't be able to do anything. She'd just be a burden, and so she gave up on that idea. But hearing that Lin Yi had lost all his strength and was forced into a corner, Ling Shan was still a little worried. She didn't know why, but she had this inexplicable feeling towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi was the first man who dared to act arrogantly in front of her, and all the other noble house's disciples always praised her. But Lin Yi called her Miss Brain Dead. This made her angry, but at the same time, she felt a strange feeling in her heart. She was angry, but she couldn't fight back, and she didn't dare to. She could only accept it, and slowly, she started to like this feeling of being conquered. Sometimes, she even thought that she was a bit of a masochist. But she shook her head. She didn't want to fight back, didn't she? However, there was no way to resist, so he could only compromise. It was just a habit that had become second nature. Ling Shan couldn't stay calm at the thought of Lin Yi. She hurriedly tidied up the documents on her desk and glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already past 9. Ling Shan was single, and because of her profession, she would sleep in the resting room when she worked late. She washed her face, brushed her teeth, and laid on the bed. She wanted to call Lin Yi, but she couldn't fall asleep. She washed her face and brushed her teeth before lying on the bed. She wanted to give Lin Yi a call, but couldn't fall asleep after tossing and turning. She looked at the time. It was already 10, and she was afraid that Lin Yi would fall asleep. But, for some reason, she still picked up her phone and called Lin Yi. Lin Yi, naturally, wasn't sleeping. He had just returned from Faubert's place and was taking a shower when Ling Shan's call came in. "Hello." Lin Yi picked up. "It's me," Ling Shan said carefully, a little hesitant. "Oh, what's up?" Lin Yi asked. Ling Shan usually didn't call him for anything good. Either she couldn't catch the bad guys, or she had some trouble that she needed his help with. Nothing. Ling Shan was a little awkward. She didn't know what she was thinking, but she didn't know what to say when the call went through to Lin Yi. "Nothing? Why would you call me then?" Lin Yi was confused. As far as he was concerned, Ling Shan would always call him for trouble, but Lin Yi had always helped as much as he could. Ling Shan's hesitation made Lin Yi think that something big had happened. So he said, "Is there something troublesome that you need my help with?" Nothing. Ling Shan had been very bold these past few days, but it was only temporary. It had been a few days since she contacted Lin Yi, and she found it hard to talk about it. "Then I'll hang up." Lin Yi didn't know what was going on. "If you have something to say, just say it. Why did you call me?" "Don't hang up." Ling Shan hesitated, but seeing that Lin Yi was about to hang up, she got bolder. She was already prepared to give up, so she didn't care anymore. I miss you." "What?" Lin Yi paused. "What did you say?" Miss Dumb misses you." Ling Shan didn't hold back anymore and said it boldly. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't have much of a good impression of Ling Shan. He admired her, but it was only because of her body. As for her personality, Lin Yi didn't really like it. Although Ling Shan had changed a lot recently, Lin Yi didn't think of it as a relationship at all. As far as he was concerned, he and Ling Shan weren't the same kind of people, and Ling Shan would never understand his life. So, Lin Yi purposely kept a certain distance from Ling Shan. This was also the reason why Lin Yi didn't go any further when he saw Ling Shan's naked body in the basement of Jiang Wen's kidney trafficking organization. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't moved. Lin Yi was a normal man, but Lin Yi had better self-control. If he only relied on impulse to do things, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to live until now. Now, Ling Shan's hints were a little obvious, and it gave Lin Yi a headache. He decided to find a chance to have a good talk with Ling Shan. He didn't think that Ling Shan really fell in love with him. With Ling Shan's strong personality, He could guess the reason why she would have feelings for him. Chen Yuqian and the other pursuers were all obedient to Ling Shan, but He was someone who did the opposite. This made Ling Shan feel fresh. Chapter 1038. Help me level up. But none of this was the reason why Ling Shan fell in love with Lin Yi. The time they spent together was limited, and Lin Yi hadn't even spent as much time with Ling Shan as Xiao Xiao did. How could she have feelings for him? If she were to talk about feelings, it was all because of the chaotic scene in the basement. Maybe things wouldn't be like this anymore once she thought it through. And so, Lin Yi said to Ling Shan, "You miss me?" "Yeah." Ling Shan nodded without hesitation. "What do you miss?" Lin Yi asked. I want you to help me level up." Ling Shan blushed. If someone else said this, it would be a very normal thing to say. For example, when Faubert told Lin to help him level up, it wouldn't be a big deal. He was just asking Lin to use his energy to help him level up. In fact, He had been helping Faubert level up for the past few days. But Ling Shan asking Lin to help her level up was a little ambiguous. How and under what circumstances did Ling Shan break through last time? Both Lin Yi and Ling Shan knew it very well. This kind of breakthrough method gave Lin Yi a headache. Lin Yi was Ling Shan's fantasy partner, and he broke through just like that. It was a little unbelievable, but it really happened. Of course, Lin Yi didn't think that was the reason for the breakthrough. It was just a trigger. If that was the case, Ling Shan would have reached Sky class a long time ago. So this method wasn't going to work. Ling Shan was already at the point of breakthrough, and that thing was just a trigger. Of course, He didn't delve too deeply into it. This wasn't something he could understand. Every family's practice was different, and He didn't have the time to study it. "All right, when can I help you level up?" He hesitated before agreeing. Ugh. Ling Shan was taken aback by Lin Yi's straightforwardness. Yi agreed, just like that. No hesitation at all. "What's wrong?" Yi asked when Ling Shan didn't say anything. "No, but this weekend, you'll come to my house?" Ling Shan said excitedly. "Sure," Yi nodded. "Then I'll be waiting." Ling Shan's heart was pounding furiously. She was really happy that Yi had agreed. Ling Shan's breathing quickened as she held the phone in her hand. She suddenly felt hot all over, remembering the special feeling she had in the basement that day. Ling Shan couldn't help but reach her hand into the blanket. After hanging up, Yi didn't think too much about it and went straight into practicing mode. The situation wasn't looking good right now. House Yu and House Xiao had temporarily quieted down, but who knew if there would be any bigger movements after that. So Yi couldn't slack off for even a second. He had to train hard and break through as soon as possible. Only when he had enough strength would he be able to intimidate these noble houses. That night, He would spend his time training. That night, Faubert would spend his time training as well. That night, the Miss and Shu slowly fell asleep as they whispered to each other. They were talking about Xiao Xiao, their best friend life. There was something they needed to discuss about suddenly accepting a third person into their life. Tang Yin, on the other hand, had a good night's sleep. She was very happy. She was going to move into her new house in 2 days, and her mother was going to buy some charcoal buns. That night, Xiao Xiao had another sleepless night. She was thinking about the future. This was the first time she was thinking about the future of her life, and Lin Yi's future. She was a little lost, and she wanted to retreat a little. That night, Ling Shan fell asleep in a daze of excitement. Outside the window, it was raining, and in her dreams, Ling Shan was listening to the wind and the rain, while He was in his pajamas, dreaming. The rainy night in Songshan was very quiet. The homeless and beggars on the streets were all hiding, and most of the restaurants and shops had closed early. There weren't many customers in a rainy day, but there was one place that was packed with people. Even though it was raining outside, it was still very noisy. This was Jiang Wen's underground fighting arena. Malin looked at the opponent, who had won 2 matches in a row, and frowned. Why was this guy so strong? Previously, when he was approached by someone, He only said that he would be able to get 100,000 yuan commission by participating in an underground boxing match. That was 100,000, no matter if he won or lost. Malin's heart was moved. He was originally a small hooligan in the market. He relied on his ability to take bribes and bully the vendors to earn some money. At most, he would earn 2 to 3,000 yuan a month. Now that he was offered 100,000 yuan, he couldn't help but gladly accept it. As for why he made it look like he was running away, it was Scorpion who told him to do that. The reason was simple. Scorpion told him that no matter if he won or lost, he would get 100,000, but if he won, he would get another 300,000. If you kill the other party's 100,000 yuan will be given to you, and you will get 500,000 yuan. But if he killed someone, he would have to run, right? If you disappeared inexplicably, others would definitely suspect you. However, if you absconded because of some small matters, others would naturally ignore you. Small issues wouldn't make him a wanted criminal, so Malin thought about it and agreed. He was a big guy, and he came from a gangster background. Getting into fights was a common occurrence. If he really killed the opponent accidentally, it wouldn't be too hard. Plus, he heard that he would get another 300,000 if he won, and Malin knew that this match would be a life-and-death kind of fight. If he really didn't have the last bit of strength left, who would be willing to let the 300,000 slip away? So, in order to win, he had to beat the opponent to death. That was the only way he could win for sure. He could also get his opponent's 100,000. Malin was a gangster in the first place, and he didn't really care about human lives, especially in an underground arena like this. If he really did kill someone, the boss wouldn't want things to get out of hand. He'd just walk away, and after a few years, he'd have nothing to do with it. But Malin's idea was good, but the reality was cruel. Chapter 1039. The underground arena. Although he was a hooligan and fighting was a common occurrence, the short, brawny man on the stage was indeed very skilled. If Malin's judgment was correct, this man was an underground fighter who made a living by fighting underground fighters. His attacks were sharp and ruthless, all of them killing moves. This was a world of difference from Malin's usual fighting style. No matter how good Malin was at fighting, that was just fighting, beating people up until they hurt them. This short man, on the other hand, was beating people to death. Every punch was aimed at the opponent's vitals, either the head or the chest, and every move was fatal. Malin's forehead was sweating profusely as he watched the short man's opponent get beaten senseless, getting dragged off the stage like a dead dog. He regretted it. He really regretted it. He shouldn't have believed Scorpion's words. He shouldn't have had this unrealistic dream of getting rich. Finally, the short brawny man made his move again. With a bang, he punched his opponent's temple. Suddenly, his opponent's temple caved in, and then suddenly swelled up, turning into a huge tumor-like bump. His opponent, who was as strong as a bear, twitched twice and fell to the ground with a loud bang, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. The short man won again. He raised his hands, accepting the cheers of victory from the audience. 2 fights, and he'd earn 1,000,000. After the 3rd fight, he'd be able to earn 1,500,000 today. This was the highest amount he'd ever earned in his underground fighting career. Otherwise, the short man wouldn't have come all the way from Thailand to Songsan. He was a Muay Thai master and used to be a professional athlete, but he'd been focusing on underground fights ever since he retired. Many retired boxers became weaker and weaker, but the short man was different. His current strength was even greater than his peak strength as a regular athlete. Especially after learning some killer moves from a third-rate assassin, he became even more powerful. Of course, that wasn't all. The reason why he was so powerful was because he had embarked on the path of a cultivator. He was a physical cultivator, and he was about to reach the golden rank. That was why his strength was so tyrannical. Scorpion bro, I don't want to compete anymore. Malin was sweating as he watched the stream. He loved money, but he didn't want to die. The life and death agreement has been signed. You only have one choice, and that is to fight. Scorpion said coldly, I just won't participate. What can you do to me? Life and death agreement? Don't think that I'm just a hooligan. This kind of thing is not valid in the law. If you want me to fight him, I'll die if I go up. In order to survive, Malin didn't care if he fell out with Scorpion, even though he knew that there had to be a huge power behind this arena. Oh! Scorpion smiled coldly as he pointed his gun at Malin. Then you can die now. Ga. Malin froze as a gun was pointed at his head. He started shaking. You guys, you can live if you participate in the competition, and you can even get the prize money. Scorpion humphed. If you don't participate, you won't get a single Sendai now. Malin was stunned. He was just a low-level hooligan. He'd never seen a gun before. Being pointed at with a gun made him shiver all over. He didn't doubt that Scorpion would kill him. After all, he'd seen the short man kill 2 people with his own eyes. This meant that they weren't afraid of dying here, and so he knelt down. And so Malin gave in, kneeling on the ground. Scorpion bro, I really don't want to die. Please, I don't want to die. I haven't lived enough. Don't want to die? Scorpion sighed and put on an act. Then wait, I'll go ask the boss. Okay. Malin didn't dare hesitate. He nodded quickly. Scorpion actually just went to the entrance for a bit and then came back. There was no need to discuss this at all. It was all planned. The live broadcast was also for Malin to see, to scare him and make him take the bait. Otherwise, if Malin really wanted to get killed on stage, he wouldn't have needed to watch this at all. He could have just gotten him ready to go on stage. The boss said that he can guarantee your victory, but the 500,000 you deserve, he can only give you 300,000. Do you have any objections? Scorpion came back to the room and asked. Yes. Malin heard that. Not only could he guarantee his victory, but he could also get 300,000. This was great news. His bottom line was to stay alive, and as far as he was concerned, he didn't need to pay anything. This 300,000 was an unexpected windfall. Before you go on stage, I will inject you with a drug. This drug is similar to the energy pill from before. It will allow you to have superhuman strength for 30 minutes. Scorpion said, but you must kill your opponent within 30 minutes. Otherwise, you'll have no choice but to resign yourself to fate. Is the strength pill really that useful? Malin didn't really believe it. He was afraid that Scorpion was lying to trick him into fighting. Why would I lie to you? This medicine is quite expensive. If the boss didn't think that the short brute won 2 rounds in a row and lost control of the bets for the 3rd round, the boss would lose a lot of money if he won again. Do you think he would give you such an expensive medicine? Little Scorpion snorted. After deducting your 200,000, it's not even enough to pay for this medicine. I see. I got it. Malin heard Scorpion's explanation and was instantly filled with confidence. Scorpion was right. Other than the matches, the boss would also bet on the fights, and now that the short man had won 2 matches in a row, the bets for the 3rd match would reach a new height. No one would bet on a dark horse like Malin. They'd all bet on the short man. In that case, if the short man won again, the owner of the underground boxing arena would suffer a huge loss. With that thought, Malin became more alert. He decided that after this fight, he'd take the money and leave. He'd never participate in this kind of competition again, not even if he had the pill of vigor. Otherwise, the more he won, the more bets he had on him, the more the boss would find a way to kill him. The 3rd match started, and Malin, injected with the strength pill, was sent to the stage. His opponent was still the short man from before. Chapter 1040. The medicine works, the medicine worked, and Malin felt like his body was filled with endless energy. Scorpion didn't lie to him. This vigor pill was really useful. At this moment, Malin felt like he was a Superman. Looking at the short man's mocking smile, Malin took the initiative to attack. He swung his fist at the short man. Bam! Malin's fist landed on the short man's body. But at the same time, the short man made his move as well, his fist landing on Malin's chest. Malin paused. The short man's fist looked really strong, but in reality, it didn't hurt at all. Yes, it didn't hurt at all. Malin felt as if he had been pushed, not hit at all. Malin couldn't help but be confused. What did this mean? Could it be that the short man was holding back? Or was it a feint? But Malin rejected the idea immediately. Holding back? How is that possible? The short man didn't look like someone who would hold back. He'd already killed 2 people. Why would he need to kill Malin? A feint? That was even more impossible. Who would do that in front of a crowd? This was a real battle of strength, not a martial arts TV series. Feints? Feints were the same as courting death. Malin, on the other hand, was quite satisfied with the punch he'd just thrown out. He could clearly feel that the strength of this punch was much stronger than usual, and it felt much better. The short man, on the other hand, staggered from Malin's attack. The short man didn't expect Malin to be this strong, going head-to-head with him. Plus, Malin's attacks were quite strong as well, and even though the short man was a pseudo-golden class master, he was still feeling some pain. Die! The short man's eyes flashed fiercely as he swung his fist at Malin again. Bam! It was another head-on collision, and Malin's fist hit the short man again, while the short man's fist hit Malin as well. The two's brute force fighting style immediately drew a round of cheers from the audience. But most of the people here thought that the short man would win for sure. Even if Malin fought him head-on, he wouldn't be a match for the short man. They cheered, "Go, Red Dragon," because the short man's headgear was a red dragon. Malin, on the other hand, wore a gray dog mask, but it didn't cover all of his hair. Some green fur could be seen, but no one was cheering him on. As far as they were concerned, Malin was dead. Red Dragon had already won 2 rounds in a row, without any pressure at all. This Malin, on the other hand, didn't have anything special about him. He dared to fight Red Dragon head-on, but he didn't seem to be that strong. Malin was puzzled. The second punch from the short man didn't seem to hurt much, as if he was playing with someone. This wasn't normal. Previously, the short man had made a feint, but what about now? He couldn't keep making feints now, could he? Could it be that the energy pill not only increased his strength, but it could also be used as a defense? Otherwise, why didn't he feel anything when the short man hit him? At the thought, Malin was overjoyed. This way, as long as he fought the short man with his impenetrable body, he'd have the upper hand. He wasn't good at fighting, but he wasn't afraid of being hit. He was like an invincible Superman. With that thought, Malin roared and charged at the short man without a care in the world, starting to beat him up. No matter how the short man hit him, he didn't care at all. He just kept punching, and punching. The audience below the stage was dumbfounded. What was going on? Why wasn't Malin afraid of death? This kind of desperate fighting style was simply terrifying. Malin's chest was caved in from the short man's punches, but he didn't seem to feel it. He was still fighting the short man. Jangwin, on the other hand, frowned as he looked at Scorpion. Can this guy do it? Why does it feel like he can't? He's going to die, isn't he? Scorpion wasn't too sure. It's been fine the last few times. The people who use the medicine always beat their opponents at the last moment. But he's going to die before he can even beat his opponent. Jangwin felt that something wasn't right today. He turned to the professor. "Professorine, what's going on?" "This opponent is too strong. Right now, the drug is only in the initial testing stage. After injecting it, dealing with ordinary people is naturally no problem. But the person we're dealing with now should be a practitioner." Professorine also frowned. "Let's find Fighter Lee and ask him." "Practitioner? No way. A practitioner fighting in an underground fight?" Jangwin paused and turned to Scorpion. "Go get Fighter Lee and see what's going on with this guy." "Yes." Scorpion replied and went to look for Fighter Lee. Soon, Scorpion brought Fighter Lee into the room. Fighter Lee said, "Master One, you were looking for me?" "Yes, look at this guy. How come he can't beat him even after the injection?" Jangwin pointed at the screen. Fighter Lee looked at the screen. "From what I can see, this guy looks like a physical practitioner, but he's not golden class yet. He's a pseudo-golden class, and Professor Yin's medicine shouldn't be able to beat him, unless the person injected with the medicine is abnormally strong." "Oh? So you're saying that this young Malin can't win?" Jangwin frowned. "It doesn't bode well for him," Fighter Lee said with certainty. "Fuck." Jangwin couldn't help but curse. "I bet more than 20 million on Red Dragon today. If Red Dragon wins, I'll lose everything even if the odds are 1-to-1. Don't worry, Master One. I'll fight the next round." Fighter Lee waved his hand casually. "With my strength, killing this Red Dragon is a piece of cake. All right, the Red Dragon won 3 rounds in a row, so the bet for the 4th round will be even bigger. I'll be able to earn it all back with interest this time. Jiang Wen nodded, feeling reassured. Chapter 1041. Fighterly wanted to steal his opponent until he fell down. The only thought in his mind was to attack and kill the short brute, and then he'd have 300,000. Malin was stronger than the previous 2 opponents to the short brute, but to a quasi-golden class physical practitioner like him, it wasn't much. Professor Yin's medicine was strong, but it was still in the early stages of experimentation. It couldn't create death warriors that could fight practitioners yet. These people were more than enough to deal with normal people, but they had no advantage against practitioners. Red Dragon didn't have an easy time in this match, and it was a bit hard. The punches he took were a few times more than the previous 2 matches, but he wasn't injured at all. He was a physical practitioner, and his body was extremely strong. Malin's strength wasn't bad, but he didn't hit Red Dragon's vitals at all, and so he raised his hands up like nothing had happened to him, welcoming the victory of 3 consecutive championships. The crowd cheered, and these were all people who had bet on Red Dragon's victory, and Red Dragon really did win again. Bosley, how much did you bet today? A fat white boss asked another boss beside him. I didn't bet much. Hee, I bet 5 million. Although the boss said that he didn't bet much, he still said it with some pride. Then you'll get 10 million back in one go. Congratulations. The fat boss said enviously. I only bet 300,000. If Red Dragon comes out tomorrow, I'll bet 5 million as well. No, 10 million. Oh, you're not afraid of losing all 10 million? The boss asked hesitantly. Lose? How is that possible? Red Dragon is so strong. I'll bet if he comes out. The fat boss gritted his teeth. Look at today. None of the Red Dragon's opponents are weak, but this Red Dragon is too strong. HM, you're right, but I'm afraid that the arena will be rigged and Red Dragon will lose on purpose. The boss said worriedly. Lose on purpose? How is that possible? The fat boss said with disdain. You've seen quite a few matches, and which one of them wasn't a fight to the death? Which one didn't have people dying? The final victor was always the one who killed the enemy. How could it be faked? Unless the Red Dragon is a fool, why would he collude with the boxing arena to fake it when he's so powerful? The key is that there's no benefit at all after the fake. He's already dead, so what's the use of any benefits? That's right. The boss who won the money also nodded. Then I will bet more tomorrow, but I have to see how many matches this Red Dragon will fight tomorrow. If it's going to fight 3 more matches, I will bet on the later ones. I will wait and see what happens first. You're really cunning. The fat boss said, I won't look at the situation. I'll bet directly. In this way, if they really fight all 3 rounds, I'll bet 10 million. With the compound interest, I'll earn 80 million in the last round. Wow, 80 million. I could buy a yacht and marry a few concubines. This is so cool. Although I won't bet on the first match, I'll bet on the later matches. I'm going to bet 100 million. The boss had also made up his mind. Sometimes it was like this. When you were hesitating, there was a like-minded person beside you who was encouraging you, so you could quickly make a bold decision. Then I'll bet 20 million. That's all I have. The fat boss didn't back down. In fact, there were many similar conversations going on in the spectator stands. They were all people who were excited about winning today, and they were all discussing what to bet on tomorrow. Of course, there were some of Jiang Wen's eyes and ears in the spectator stands as well. These people were there to create the wind and influence the people who placed their bets, guiding the public's opinion. But today's situation didn't need these eyes and ears. Everyone had decided to bet on the Red Dragon tomorrow. Jiang Wen was quite satisfied with the situation. He had lost quite a bit of money today, but he could earn it back 100 times over tomorrow. Fighterly, I'll leave it to you tomorrow, Jiang Wen said to Fighterly. If we win tomorrow, we'll get an astronomical amount of money. You're too courteous, Master Jiang Wen. We're all working for the Firewolves. What's there to ask? Fighterly waved his hand and said carelessly. But I have a request. Can you ask Scorpion to help me with something, Master Jiang Wen? Oh, what request? Just tell me, Fighterly, Jiang Wen said quickly. It's like this, I've taken a fancy to a girl, Fighterly said with a laugh. Haha, appetites, no problem. Since Fighterly has his eyes on her, I'll let Scorpion catch her for you. Jiang Wen waved his hand nonchalantly after hearing that it was just a small matter like this. Master Jiang Wen, this girl is from a good family. It'll be a problem if we take her by force. Fighterly wasn't stupid. He would have done it himself if he could. Why would he need Scorpion? Oh, Jiang Wen paused. What's the problem? Does she have a background? She doesn't. Fighterly shook his head. What's there to worry about if she doesn't have a background? Jiang Wen didn't understand. It's not the first time we've caught people. We've caught so many people already, and nothing's happened, right? This is different. Fighterly shook his head. Master Jiang Wen, this girl is for me to play with. I can't kill her before I'm done playing with her. Moreover, this little girl is very charming. I plan to let her follow me for a long time as a concubine. What I'm afraid of is that if she sneaks out and tells others about our underground boxing arena, then it will be troublesome. Oh, you're right. Jiang Wen nodded. Then we'll throw money at her. Master Jiang Wen, I'm thinking of letting Scorpion trick the girl's father into coming here to gamble. We'll make him owe a ton of money. He won't be able to pay it back, and we'll force him to give his daughter to me. That way, the girl would come willingly, and naturally, she wouldn't be able to run away. Fighterly said. Chapter 1042. Chapter 1040, Wu Qintian's return. All right, that's easy. Leave it to me, Scorpion. Scorpion patted his chest and promised. He walked the streets every day to trick people, so this was a good job for him. What's the girl's name? What's her father's name? This girl's name is Yuan. She works at a burger shop near primary school. Her father sells groceries at a nearby market. His name is Run. His family is poor, and he hasn't seen much of the world. Just a few words and he'll be hooked. Fighterly had done a thorough background check on Yuan. Although Fighterly frequented the brothels every day, the people he interacted with were mostly young ladies. He was more interested in pure girls. Yesterday, he went to a burger shop to eat a burger, and he was attracted to Yuan. He did a simple investigation of Yuan's background, and when he came back to the arena, he was thinking about how he could ask Jiang Wen to help him get Yuan. Jiang Wen invited him to fight tomorrow, and so he asked for it. As expected, Jiang Wen readily agreed. This wasn't a big deal to Jiang Wen at all. Wu Gonggao, the old man of House Wu, was finally discharged from the hospital. But this hospitalization was a blessing in disguise. He broke through to Mystic Mid-Phase, and this made him very happy. Could this be the legendary saying that there can be no construction without destruction? If that was the case, he might as well let Qintian piss him off a few more times and let him stay in the hospital a few more times. Wouldn't he be able to break through to Earth class then? Of course, Gonggao was just thinking about it. Although this breakthrough had something to do with the hospitalization, the main reason was that he was really close to breaking through. He just hadn't reached the barrier of Mystic Mid-Phase yet. When he was at home, Gonggao practiced every day without a day of rest. But after staying in the hospital, he couldn't practice anymore. He could only rest on the bed and rest for a while. When his body recovered, he broke through to Mystic Mid-Phase in one go. Wu Gonggao had also thought about it carefully. The breakthrough this time might have been due to this period of quiet recuperation, allowing himself to adjust his state, and then cultivating again to break through in one fell swoop. But no matter what, Gonggao had become a Mystic Mid-Phase, and House Wu's position was solidified. Qintian saw that his grandpa had recovered and broken through, so he didn't want to stay in House Wu anymore. He wanted to get to Songshan as soon as possible to find Sun Jingyi, wanting to expose a relationship with Lin Yi. In Yanjing, he had a meal with Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. He knew that the two were a couple, so Lin Yi couldn't be Sun Jingyi's boyfriend, unless Lin Yi had a foot in both boats. But it didn't matter. Qintian planned to invite Lin Yi, Xiao Xiao, and Sun Jingyi out for a meal. If Lin Yi was two-timing, it would let Sun Jingyi see the ugly side of Lin Yi. Of course, whether or not it would destroy the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao was none of Qintian's business. He didn't care at all. Qintian rushed back to Songshan in the middle of the night. He wasn't in a hurry to call Jingyi when he got there, but he called Wangba first. Why? Wangba, it's me, Wu Qintian. Qintian said. Bro Qintian, hello. Wangba was overjoyed when he received Qintian's call. The Xiao family's current situation wasn't ideal, and if House Wu could help them out, they wouldn't be removed from the list so quickly, especially since Wu Gongyao, the old man of House Wu, had broken through to Mystic mid-phase. It was only a matter of time before he reached Earth class. At this time, House Wu's words were very firm. Oh, how's the thing I asked you to do? Qintian, naturally, didn't know about the changes in the Xiao family. In fact, House Wu had been busy with Gonggao's matters recently, and they didn't have the time to ask about other people's matters. Gonggao had just broken through, and House Wu was busy spreading the news. They didn't have the time to listen to other people's news. It's done. The company has been registered, and we've rented an office building. We've hired the employees as well, but we've just arrived in Songshan, and we don't have many customers. The company has been open for so many days, and no customers have come looking for us. Wangba said. There were countless trading companies in Songshan, and if they didn't go out to do business after opening, hoping that customers would come looking for them was just wishful thinking. But Qintian didn't care about that. It didn't matter if they didn't have customers, or if they didn't make money. Now that Gonggao had broken through, Qintian was able to apply for a large sum of money to hit on girls. Old Wu's only wish right now was for Qintian to marry Jingyi in a House Wu's house. That way, House Wu's position would rise again. And so, Qintian opened this company to show off. He only wanted the position of the general manager. As for whether the company made money or not, he didn't care. He had been practicing how to show off recently, and he felt that he was doing very well already. After eating with Xiao Xiao, Qintian was enlightened. Girls nowadays all like guys who knew how to show off. Only by showing off would people admire you. Qintian found what he was lacking, and so he took the chance to correct it. This company was the first step in his plan to show off. He wanted to be on the same level as Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi had a company and could be considered a CEO. If he wanted to pursue Sun Jingyi, he had to be a CEO as well. The second step was to invite Lin Yi, Xiao Xiao, and Sun Jingyi to have a meal together. Not only would it let Sun Jingyi see Lin Yi's face, but would also allow him to show off his skill in showing off. That Xiao Xiao really knew how to cooperate with him, so it was killing two birds with one stone. It doesn't matter if the company makes money or not. I brought back 10 million to hit on girls this time, so let me know if it's not enough. Qintian said nonchalantly. Chapter 1043. Chapter 1041. The real side of Sun Jingyi. Did you print the name card I told you to? Qintian asked. Yes. I used the gold-plated name card that you told me to make. It looks very high-end. Wangba said quickly. What about the sports car? Did you buy it? Qintian asked. Yes, I bought it according to your instructions. It's an Audi TT. Wangba said. It's a new car, and I don't have a license plate yet. Oh, there's no need for that yet. I'm giving it to someone as a gift. Qintian said. I'll go get it tomorrow morning. But in front of people, you have to say that this car was earned by the company. Understand? Understood. Wangba said quickly. After calling Wangba, Qintian dialed Sun Jingyi's number. Sun Jingyi was soaking in the bathtub, quietly enjoying the warmth of the moment. It was too difficult for a girl to start a business in Songshan alone and support a company. She had to disguise herself every day, pretending to be a mature and cold female CEO, but deep down, she was still a weak girl. After removing the mature makeup, Sun Jingyi looked like a pure teenage girl. Her big eyes, long eyelashes, and hair casually falling down, combined with the bubbles in the bathtub, she looked like a little princess from a fairy tale. If Lin Yi was here, he would probably widen his eyes in shock. Was this really Sun Jingyi? Why did she look like the girl next door? In fact, Lin Yi had a good eye for people. Although he didn't know what Sun Jingyi looked like after removing her makeup, he could guess that Sun Jingyi was faking it. This surprised Sun Jingyi back then. Although Sun Jingyi's life was fake, she had no choice. She had to survive. She had to make a name for herself and show her family that she, Sun Jingyi, was a capable person without relying on her family. She wasn't a marriage tool for her family's benefit. However, without the support of House Sun, Sun Jingyi was like any other grassroots businesswoman, quietly running a small company, moving forward bit by bit in the fierce competition. Facing her family's forced marriage, or rather, the forced marriage of a few people in her family, Sun Jingyi chose this difficult path. She had to keep going, and she had to make some achievements. Picking up her phone, Sun Jingyi casually flipped through the album and saw a few pictures of Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi couldn't help but frown. She hadn't contacted Lin Yi for a long time, but because Wu Chentian didn't bother her anymore, Sun Jingyi didn't have a reason to look for Lin Yi. As for Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi was full of curiosity. It couldn't be said that she liked him. Sun Jingyi knew that even if she didn't agree to the marriage with House Wu, she couldn't just randomly have a boyfriend. If she randomly had a boyfriend, it might make her grandpa angry. In this generation of the Sun family, there weren't many juniors. Those who successfully broke through the first level of the internal martial technique were also very few. If the Sun family didn't find a helper, they wouldn't be kicked out of the ranks of the aristocratic families, but they would gradually decline. So Sun Jingyi's criteria for choosing a partner was very clear. It had to be someone she liked, and he had to be capable. Sun Jingyi wanted to show her uncle, second uncle, and aunt that she didn't need them to introduce her in a hurry. The boyfriend she found was also very outstanding. Currently, Sun Jingyi's feelings towards Lin Yi were only curiosity. Perhaps she had a good impression of him, but that was all. Sun Jingyi was a very rational person, and it could be seen from her daily disguise. Fu. Jingyi sighed inwardly. Lin Yi had entered her sights, but it seemed that he wasn't good enough yet. His punches and kicks were strong, but compared to a practitioner, there was still a world of difference between him and a practitioner. Sun Jingyi didn't have much information. She didn't have any contact with her family, and she didn't have any interactions with the police. So Sun Jingyi didn't hear about any of the big events that happened in Songshan, and she didn't know that Lin Yi almost went back to his hometown to seek refuge. Just when she was thinking about these messy things, an urgent ringtone sounded, and it scared Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi looked at the caller ID and frowned. But after hesitating for a while, she still picked up the phone. "I'm Sun Jingyi," Sun Jingyi said faintly, as if she didn't see the caller ID. "Jingyi, I'm Wu Chentian." Chentian's voice came from the other side of the phone, and he sounded a little excited. "I'm back in Songshan." "Oh, you're back," Sun Jingyi said faintly. "Yeah, I've invested in a company here." "Haha, looks like I'll be stationed in Songshan from now on, but we'll have more chances to meet each other," Chentian said pretentiously. Oh, Sun Jingyi wasn't interested in whether Chentian invested in a company or not. He was a member of a noble house, and if he used his family's connections to do business, he would make money no matter what he did. So if Chentian wanted to make money, it was easy, but Sun Jingyi couldn't compare. From Sun Jingyi's point of view, if he couldn't make money with the connections of a noble house, wouldn't he be an idiot? "Haha, long time no see. Let's go for breakfast tomorrow morning," Chentian suggested impatiently. "Tomorrow morning? I need to go to the company. I don't have time." Sun Jingyi rejected Chentian's suggestion faintly. "Haha, let's go out for a chat. It's been a while. Let's invite Lin Yi too." Chentian purposely brought up Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, as long as Lin Yi went, Sun Jingyi would definitely go as well, and Sun Jingyi would be able to see the ugly face of Lin Yi's two-timing. "Lin Yi?" Sun Jingyi paused, and couldn't help but feel a ripple in her heart. Sun Jingyi didn't think that Lin Yi was a bad guy, but he was a thief. If she brought a thief back to House Sun, wouldn't her grandpa die from anger? "Yeah, I met Lin Yi in Yanjing, and I even treated him and his friends to a meal. It was a great gathering," Chentian said. "So now that I'm back in Songshan, I'm going to have another meal with them. Let's go together tomorrow." Then, all right. Hearing that Lin Yi was going, Sun Jingyi reluctantly agreed. Her impression of Chentian was getting worse and worse, and although her family told Sun Jingyi to interact with Chentian more often, Sun Jingyi just brushed it off. "All right, I'll pick you up at your company tomorrow morning." Chintian wasn't happy that Sun Jingyi agreed to have breakfast with him the moment she heard Lin Yi's name. But when he remembered that he would be able to expose Lin Yi tomorrow, he endured it. Chapter 1044. Chapter 1042. You're cute early in the morning. Lin Yi went to the hospital to pick up Tang Yun as usual, but Tang Yun said to Lin Yi after getting in the car, "Let's go to Time Street and pick up Xiao Xiao O." Lin Yi blinked. She said that she woke up this morning and realized that her car was out of gas. So she wanted you to pick her up. Tang Yun waved her phone. Xiao Xiao just called me. Isn't there a gas station in front of her house? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this excuse. Is that so? Tang Yun blinked before bursting into laughter. This Xiao Xiao. Next time I'll get her to come up with a more reasonable excuse. You knew she was lying? Lin Yi smiled. Yeah, she admitted it. Tang Yun smiled as well. You won't blame me for not telling the truth, right? I won't. Lin Yi shook his head. With Tang Yun's personality, naturally, she wants Xiao Xiao to be happier when Xiao Xiao was in this state, so it was normal for her to work with Xiao Xiao to trick him. With that, Lin Yi drove the car to Xiao Xiao's neighborhood. At Xiao Xiao's neighborhood, Lin Yi saw Xiao Xiao, who was dressed up nicely, standing in front of her house with a smile on her face. Her petite figure was filled with an indescribable youthfulness. This was completely different from someone who was walking towards the end of their life. If Lin Yi didn't know what was going on with Xiao Xiao's body, he wouldn't believe that she was really going to die. Xiao Xiao had her usual smile on her face as she ran over excitedly when she saw Lin Yi's car. Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao sat in the back of the Beetle, leaving an empty seat in the front passenger seat. Heh. I'm sorry, the car ran out of gas, so I had to ask you to pick me up, Xiao Xiao said apologetically to Lin Yi after getting in. Oh, okay. Lin Yi nodded. Okay. Xiao Xiao didn't understand Lin Yi's response. What did he mean by okay? Tang Yun covered her mouth and giggled. Xiao Xiao still didn't understand. He drove the car to the entrance of Xiao Xiao's house and turned into a small street, stopping at a gas station after a few turns. My car's out of gas, too, Lin Yi said faintly, not exposing Xiao Xiao's lie. But Xiao Xiao's face went red. She was a weird girl who lied without blinking, but that was only for other people. She was facing Lin Yi now, and she couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Although Lin Yi didn't expose her directly, what was the difference between this situation and him exposing her? Xiao Xiao didn't think that Lin Yi would know that there was a gas station near her house. It was very secluded in a small street. If it wasn't someone who lived nearby or someone who was very familiar with the area, they wouldn't be able to find it. But Lin Yi found it, and he wanted to refuel here. Lin Yi got out of the car and went to get the gas gun. Xiao Xiao, who was in the car, held her burning cheeks, fidgeting. What do I do, Yin sis? Does he know that I lied to him? Huh? Tang Yin looked at Xiao Xiao mischievously. So what if he knows? Then he won't believe me anymore. Xiao Xiao said worriedly. It's fine. You guessed it already. Tang Yin smiled. I guessed it already. Xiao Xiao was even more embarrassed. She didn't think that Lin Yi would know that she was lying. Lin Yi got in the car after refueling and didn't say anything else. He started the car and drove towards the school. But the more Lin Yi didn't say anything, the more Xiao Xiao felt uneasy. If Lin Yi said something to her, she'd feel more normal. So if there's a gas station here, I didn't know. I'll come here to refuel too. Xiao Xiao pretended like she just found out. Lin Yi, honey, you're amazing. You even found a gas station on a small street like this. Oh, it's not that amazing. I just need to keep an eye on it, Lin Yi said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Haha, I couldn't keep an eye on it, Xiao Xiao said with a laugh. Oh, I saw a receipt from the gas station in your car. There's this address on it, so I wrote it down. Lin Yi said. Xiao Xiao's eyes and mouth were wide open. She was so shocked that she couldn't say a word. Her body stiffened, and her forehead almost hit the roof of the car. She stared at Lin Yi blankly, her face burning up. She felt like she was going to explode. I don't want to live anymore. This is too embarrassing. Xiao Xiao was going crazy. Can't you just expose me? Can't you just let me have a little? I'm going to kill myself. You're pretty cute. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile at Xiao Xiao's reaction. Oh, Is that so? Xiao Xiao was overjoyed at Lin Yi's words. Her eyes turned into crescents. Really? Aha. Yin sis, he said I'm cute. Yeah. Tang Yin smiled as well. She finally understood why Meng Yao agreed to let Yushu be a small wife. She wouldn't be lonely with a small wife like this by her side. She'd be really happy in the future. Unconsciously, Tang Yin realized that she'd accepted Xiao Xiao's existence in her heart. If she could be with her for the rest of her life, that would be a pretty good thing. But it was just a good thought. Xiao Xiao's ending was destined to be very sad. Tang Yin couldn't help but feel sad at the thought. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, didn't seem to know what it felt like to be sad at all. Her eyes and lips were all curved up like an emoticon. She was so happy. Lin Yi looked at Xiao Xiao and found it hard to connect her with the emotional Xiao Xiao who wrote her wishes on her phone. In front of people, she was a happy person, and it seemed like she'd be happy at any time. She made everyone around her happy with her. But behind the scenes, she was still a pitiful girl on the brink of death. Lin Yi parked the car at the food street behind the school. When he got out, Xiao Xiao looked at the Lamborghini near the wall and couldn't help but start laughing. Chapter 1045. Cake with Love to Outsiders. She looked like Tang Yun's best friend, and no one would suspect that she had anything to do with Lin Yi. It wasn't until they reached the school building and Tang Yun entered Class 9's classroom that Xiao Xiao acted a little closer to Lin Yi. They were about to reach class anyway, and there weren't many people in the hallway. Xiao Xiao didn't hold back anymore and put her hand in front of Lin Yi. Question mark. Lin Yi blinked. What are you doing? Holding hands. I didn't fight for anything when my wife was here, but now that she's gone, can't I get better treatment? Xiao Xiao said urgently. Quick, it's my turn. Lin Yi smiled and held Xiao Xiao's hand. It only took a few steps for them to reach Class 5, and Lin Yi let go of her. It was just a short distance, but Xiao Xiao was happy enough. She hummed a little tune as she followed Lin Yi into class, waiting for Lin Yi to sit down before quietly sitting beside Lin Yi like a little wife. Seeing how easily Xiao Xiao was satisfied made Lin Yi feel pity for this girl. But there was nothing Lin Yi could do. His medical skills weren't good enough, and he couldn't let Xiao Xiao live. Lin Yi, honey, I brought you good food. Xiao Xiao sat down and opened her bag excitedly, talking to herself. Oh, Lin Yi really liked Xiao Xiao from the bottom of his heart now. This was why Lin Yi didn't get angry when she lied to him about running out of gas. If it were before, Lin Yi wouldn't have spoiled Xiao Xiao like this. I made a cake with love myself. Xiao Xiao was a little smug as she rummaged through her bag and pulled out a food preservation bag. Here it is, dang, 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 dang. Love cakes. Huh. Xiao Xiao was excitedly trying to show Lin Yi the cake she made, but when she took it out, she realized that the cake in the bag was squashed. The heart-shaped pastry was originally decorated with cherries and strawberries, but now it was crushed beyond recognition. Xiao Xiao was going crazy. I woke up at 3 in the morning. How did this happen? How unlucky. Xiao Xiao slapped her forehead, a little dejected. She was a little sleepy after baking the cake in the morning, so she put the cake in her bag and fell asleep. She didn't even know what was going on when she fell asleep, using her bag as a pillow. The pastries were still in her school bag. Now that she had pressed on them, the result was obvious. But Xiao Xiao forgot about it after she woke up. She called Tang Yun, dressed up, and left with her bag. She forgot about using her bag as a pillow. She didn't even think that the cake she made was crushed. Lin Yi looked at Xiao Xiao in front of him. He was really happy, really touched. Xiao Xiao had written clearly on her phone that she wanted him to fall in love with her and then die in front of him to get her revenge. But Lin Yi didn't believe her anymore. If it was just a lie, why would she wake up in the middle of the night to make a cake with love? Whatever, throw it away. I'll make it again tomorrow and use a food preservation bag this time. I learned from my mistakes. Xiao Xiao said, a little depressed. I'm too stupid, putting in my bag and using it as a pillow to sleep. Sigh. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh at Xiao Xiao's words. Why are you laughing? Xiao Xiao pouted. Why would I throw it away? It's just a little out of shape, nothing bad. Lin Yi took the food preservation bag from Xiao Xiao's hands and opened it, stuffing the cake into his mouth. I haven't eaten anything this morning, so I'm pretty hungry. It's not bad. Lin Yi finished the cake in 2 or 3 bites, not minding the shape and beauty of the cake at all. Xiao Xiao didn't expect Lin Yi to eat it just like that. She paused. No more, Lin Yi asked after eating. Ugh, no more. I'll make more tomorrow. Xiao Xiao was happy again, her eyes looking at Lin Yi a little more tenderness. Lin Yi was touched, but so was Xiao Xiao. She didn't even know how to eat the cake after it was squashed like that, but Lin Yi ate it without a care, even asking if she had any more. This made Xiao Xiao feel that Lin Yi was really nice to her. No one had ever treated her this well since she was young, and she'd never been in a relationship before. Falling in love all of a sudden made her feel that everything was so perfect. If it was possible, she really didn't want to die. She was a little scared. The more she developed with Lin Yi, the heavier her heart became. If this continued, the final parting would be very painful. She didn't want herself to be in pain, and she didn't want Lin Yi to be in pain. The reason why she didn't make friends or date before was because she didn't want to be sad on the final day, but now everything had changed. She had friends before she knew it. Tang Yun and Yushu were her good friends. She had a lover too. Xiao Xiao could feel that she and Lin Yi were heading towards danger, and the two were getting more and more immersed. Sai, what should I do? Xiao Xiao felt a headache coming on. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. He finished the cake and drank 2 mouthfuls of water before tossing the bag into a nearby trash can. You don't have to wake up so early to do this. It's troublesome. Lin Yi was worried about Xiao Xiao's health. She didn't have many days left to live, and waking up in the middle of the night to make cakes. Wasn't she just waiting for her condition to worsen? It's not troublesome. I'm very happy. Xiao Xiao shook her head. I'll prepare it tonight, and I'll bake it tomorrow morning. I didn't prepare it this morning, so it's a little troublesome. Lin Yi didn't say anything else after seeing Xiao Xiao's insistence. She was happy that Xiao Xiao was doing this, and Lin Yi was happy to make her happy. Friday night race. Have you contacted them? Lin Yi changed the topic. Yeah, I've contacted them. Xiao Xiao's face brightened up at the mention of racing. I contacted some of the racers I used to play with, and they signed up. But please don't lose. I can't afford 200,000. Haha, you don't believe in my skills? Lin Yi didn't care at all for these civilian races. Chapter 1046. Qin Tian's invitation. As long as you have faith in me, Lin Yi teased Xiao Xiao. Oh, of course I have faith in you, but the car won't do. Xiao Xiao said, mountain roads. Their modified cars won't be able to do much. Lin Yi shrugged. That's true. Who would dare to speed up on that kind of road? Xiao Xiao thought about it and calmed down. Qin Tian went to Wangba early in the morning to get his car. His company was quite grand, taking up 2 floors by the roadside. The signboard was very bright too. Qin Tian was very happy. He patted Wangba on the shoulder. Not bad. Qin Tian Trading Company Limited. Good job. Give me a name card. Here it is. Wangda didn't expect that Qin Tian didn't care about the company's profits at all. He was only concerned about the company's appearance. He calmed down and handed a box of gold-plated name cards to Qin Tian. Bro Qin Tian, are you satisfied with this? Yes, you did well. Qin Tian took the card and looked at it before putting it in his pocket. He got in the car and drove to Sun Jingyi's place. He parked the car below Sun Jingyi's place and called Sun Jingyi. He wanted to give Sun Jingyi a surprise. This car was a gift for Sun Jingyi. He remembered that Sun Jingyi said that she liked Audi cars, but she didn't like them that were too eye-catching. So she bought an Audi A4L. In Songshan, where the rich gathered, an Audi A4L was a very ordinary car. After about half an hour, Sun Jingyi finally arrived. But today, Sun Jingyi didn't look as serious as before. Her makeup was more playful and cute. Qin Tian was taken aback. He knew that Sun Jingyi's mature look was fake, but he didn't expect Sun Jingyi to look so cute. He hadn't seen Sun Jingyi in this style for many years. Qin Tian thought that Sun Jingyi dressed up especially for him. He was overjoyed and quickly walked over. Jingyi, you look so pretty today. Oh, Sun Jingyi, of course, didn't dress up for Qintian. Only she knew why she dressed up like this. Women dressed up for those they liked, but who was Sun Jingyi dressed up for? Qintian was used to Sun Jingyi's cold attitude. He didn't mind and walked to his car. He opened the door for Sun Jingyi. Jingyi, please? Question mark. Sun Jingyi looked at the Audi TT in front. This is your car? Yeah. I started a company and made money, so I bought a car. Qintian was very proud of himself when he said that, showing off his coolness to the fullest. Although he hadn't gone out for a while, he had read some novels about coolness, like So Pure, So Flirtatious prequel. The main character, Lu Lei, was very coolness, and Qintian had always wanted to imitate him. However, he neglected one thing. Coolness required strength, and without strength, he'd be an idiot. Oh, I'll drive my own car. Sun Jingyi rejected Qintian's invitation and walked her car. Qintian's face froze. He remembered that Sun Jingyi wouldn't sit in his car with him. If he gave the car to Sun Jingyi later, it would be Sun Jingyi's. She wanted then, right? Qintian wanted to give the car to Jingyi right now, but then he thought about giving it to Jingyi at the dinner table, with Xiao Xiao helping him act cool and complimenting him a bit. Wouldn't he be able to gain a lot of face? With that thought, Qintian decided to hold it in a little longer. He'd give the car to her during dinner. If Qintian didn't say that he'd treat Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi wouldn't have agreed to eat with him. She'd use work as an excuse to cancel the meeting. But when Qintian said that he'd treat Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi hesitated. She hadn't seen Lin Yi for a long time, and Sun Jingyi really wanted to see Lin Yi. No matter what, she was half his lover, and Sun Jingyi had a good impression of Lin Yi. She would be happy if the two met occasionally. The two cars headed towards Songshan's first high school, one after the other. Sun Jingyi led the way, and Qintian followed behind. Sun Jingyi parked the car at the food street behind Songshan's first school. This was where Sun Jingyi picked up Lin Yi last time. She didn't know that Lin Yi was a student of Songshan's first school, but she thought that Lin Yi lived nearby. Sun Jingyi's car stopped next to the Beetle, and Qintian's Audi TT stopped next to Sun Jingyi's Audi A4L. The two got out of the car, and Qintian walked over. I'll call Lin Yi now. Where's this? Should we wait for him here? Oh, Sun Jingyi frowned and walked towards the street not far away. She didn't want to stand so close to Qintian. It made her uncomfortable. As for why they parked the car here, it was because they picked up Lin Yi last time, and the most important reason was that Sun Jingyi didn't want to wait with Qintian in front of her house. Sun Jingyi didn't want others to see her with Qintian, and Sun Jingyi felt that it would be embarrassing if people she knew saw her. As for coming here, it was just something Sun Jingyi did. But Qintian didn't seem to notice Sun Jingyi's disgust. Sun Jingyi left, and he followed beside Sun Jingyi, calling Lin Yi as he walked. Not long after Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao entered the classroom, the phone in his pocket vibrated. Lin Yi took it out and looked at the caller ID. He didn't know it, but Lin Yi still picked it up. Hello, who are you looking for? Lin Yi? Qintian asked. I am, and you are? Lin Yi didn't recognize Qintian's voice. He didn't care about people like Qintian, and naturally, he wouldn't remember his phone number or voice. I'm Qintian. I'm back in Songshan now with Jingyi. I want to treat you and your girlfriend to a feast. Do you have time? Qintian asked. With Sun Jingyi? Girlfriend? Lin Yi blinked, but understood immediately. The girlfriend Qintian was talking about must be Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi wanted to reject him directly, but thinking about Xiao Xiao's personality, he decided that she might like to go to parties. Wait, I'll ask Xiao Xiao. Chapter 1047. The car was smashed. Xiao Xiao. Wu Qintian called saying he wants to treat us to a big meal. Do you want to go? Lin Yi turned to Xiao Xiao. Wu Qintian? Xiao Xiao blinked before remembering who Qintian was. That Iron Fist Wu? He wants to treat us to a big meal? Let's go, I love big meals. When? Lin Yi asked Qintian. Right now, Jingyi and I are at the food street behind Songshan's first school. I heard you live nearby. Qintian said. Now, do you want to go? Lin Yi didn't answer Qintian's question, but asked Xiao Xiao instead. Of course. Xiao Xiao didn't have any interest in studying at all. She was about to die, Why would she study? She didn't even have time to study for college. And so Xiao Xiao happily agreed. Then wait for me, we'll go now. Lin, he said to Qintian and hung up. Lin, he didn't have a good impression of Qintian, but he didn't have a bad impression either. He was just one of Sun Jingyi's pursuers. If there was a conflict, it was just that he stole Lin Yi's wallet, but Lin Yi stole his wallet as well. In comparison, Qintian's loss was bigger, especially when they were in Yanjing. Qintian had been screwed over by Feng Xiaoxiao to the point where he lost a lot. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a bit troubled. Did this Qintian have a screw loose in his head? Didn't he learn from last time's lesson? He wanted to treat Xiaoxiao to a meal now that he was back in Songzhan. But thinking about how Sun Jingyi was with Qintian, Lin Yi felt that he probably wanted to let Sun Jingyi see his relationship with Xiaoxiao, to let Sun Jingyi know that he was a two-timer. But Lin Yi didn't care at all. He knew what his relationship with Sun Jingyi was. Lin Yi was just Sun Jingyi pretending to be her lover, in name only. There was no real relationship at all, and so bringing Xiaoxiao with him didn't bother Lin Yi. As long as Xiaoxiao could eat happily, Lin Yi would be satisfied. Lin Yi and Xiaoxiao cleaned up, and Lin Yi sent a message to the Miss and Tang Yun, saying that he was bringing Xiaoxiao to eat with a friend. The Miss and Tang Yun both knew about Xiaoxiao, so they didn't say anything about Lin Yi bringing Xiaoxiao out alone. They only told Lin Yi to be careful and take care of Xiaoxiao. Yu Feng was a practitioner, after all. His butt was pricked, but he could still walk after being bandaged. He was from House Yu, and naturally, he had Dr. Kong and Miracle Dr. Guan's Jin Shuang and Jin Shuang medicine. He didn't hesitate to apply it on himself, Song Ming, and Peng Hu. But Peng Hu's egg was cut off, and this medicine couldn't fix it. He could only be an Eggman in the future. In the morning, the three of them came out of the hospital. With the Jin Shuang ointment, they didn't have to worry about the slow recovery of the wound. However, although the Jin Shuang ointment was good, it couldn't be applied to the wound and make it better immediately. The bleeding stopped and the wound healed, but it still took a while for the wound to be as good as before. Yu Feng was worried about the new car he bought yesterday. It was a Lamborghini, and it didn't even have a license plate. It was parked behind the school's food street. What if the street vendors scratched it? So after leaving the hospital, the three of them stopped a taxi and went to the food street behind the school. However, what caught his eye was not his Lamborghini, but an Audi TT, which was parked in the spot where he had parked before. "Where's my car?" Yu Feng blinked. "Master Xie, the car is over there." Song Ming pointed weakly at the corner. Yu Feng looked at his car and was dumbfounded. His car was parked at the foot of the wall, and the body was full of holes. It was dented and smashed, and the paint was peeling off. It didn't look like a new car at all. It looked like a scrap car. "My Lamborghini." Xie Yu Feng quickly ran over and saw his beloved car in such a state. His heart ached. He was rich, but the money he brought was limited. He wanted to hit on girls, so he got a flashy car. He didn't expect it to be smashed like this in just one day. Who did it? Who? Who smashed my car? Young Master Xie. It should be done by the person in the Audi TT. Wang Tsoming pondered for a moment and analyzed. There are only 3 reasonable parking spaces here. The parking spaces are full, and there is no other place to park except under the wall. There is a food street here at night, so it can't be seen if it was parked elsewhere. So, from the current situation, it must be that the Audi TT felt that our car came later and occupied its parking space. So it pushed our car under the wall and smashed it like this. Oh, isn't that Audi TT Xiao Xiao's car? Did she do it? Does she have that much strength? Yu Feng thought that Soming's analysis made sense, but he found it strange that Xiao Xiao had that much strength. I think it's Xiao Xiao who told Lin Yi to do it. Lin Yi's a practitioner. Pushing a car to a corner shouldn't be hard at all. Song Ming said, "Fuck, I haven't even taught him a lesson yet, and he's trying to bully me. Xiao Xiao, I'll push you onto the bed one day and fuck you to death." Yu Feng gritted his teeth. "Smash it. Smash both Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao's cars. That beetle is Lin Yi's." "Wait." Song Ming waved his hand, stopping the furious Yu Feng. "Master Xie, please calm down." "Oh, what? He's trying to bully me, and I can't fight back." Yu Feng humphed. "No, Master Xie, I think it's best not to smash Lin Yi's car. Song Ming waved his hand. Master Xie, Lin Yi's a practitioner. You think he'll just let you go after smashing his car? He's a practitioner, and so am I. He's just a mystic early phase, and I'm a mystic early phase peak. What's there to be afraid of? Yu Feng smiled coldly. Master Xie, but you have to hide your strength. You can't expose it. You have to investigate in secret, Song Ming said. Chapter 1048. Chapter 1046. Perfect timing, but he didn't want to just let this go. Wasn't this too much of a waste? After some thought, Yu Feng said, then let's smash Xiao Xiao's car. That Yushu girl messed with us yesterday. Xiao Xiao must have had a part in it. She must have been the one who came up with the idea to smash the car. Let's do it as a warning to Lin Yi that we're not pushovers and we can't touch Lin Yi's bottom line, killing two birds with one stone. All right, let's do it as a warning to Lin Yi. Song Ming nodded in agreement. Then let's just smash Xiao Xiao's car. Lin Yi doesn't have any proof anyway, and if we don't admit it, what could he do to us? It's not Lin Yi's car, it's just a girl's car. Lin Yi won't lose any face. Then what are we waiting for? Let's do it. Yu Feng had been itching to give it a try. He picked up a brick from the ground and walked over to Xiao Xiao's Audi TT, slamming it down on the windshield without saying a word. Pong! The windshield was smashed by Xie Yu Feng's brick. Song Ming and Peng Hu, on the other hand, found their tools and started smashing the car with Yu Feng. The Audi TT's alarm went off, deafening, but Yu Feng didn't mind at all. The louder the alarm, the better he felt, as if he had vented all his frustrations. Bitch, let's see how you act. Let's see how you smash my car. I'll smash yours too. I'll smash you to death. Yu Feng cursed as he smashed the car. One day, I'll fuck you to death. You little bitch. Because the three of them were working together, the Audi TT was smashed beyond recognition in an instant. Chen Tian and Jingyi were waiting for Lin Yi at the crossroads when they heard the car alarm. Chen Tian paused, but turned his head the next moment, his face extremely ugly. There were actually 3 hooligans smashing his new Audi TT. Chen Tian was enraged. Puffed. How dare you smash my car? Do you want to die? This was a gift for Sun Jingyi. Chen Tian immediately went berserk, rushing over to Yu Feng, Song Ming, and Peng Hu. He swung his arm and slapped them across the face, sending Yu Feng tumbling to the ground. Yu Feng didn't put up any defenses at all, and Chen Tian was a physical practitioner, so Yu Feng fell into his trap with a moment of carelessness. My car. My beloved car. Chen Tian touched the battered Audi TT, almost crying. This is my present for Jingyi. You bastards. How dare you smash my car? I'll kill you. Chen Tian attacked again, sending Peng Hu flying with a punch. Song Ming wasn't spared, either. Neither of them were practitioners, so they weren't even worth mentioning in front of Chen Tian. They landed on the ground, there but split open once more. Yu Feng was confused by Chen Tian's sudden appearance. But after hearing his words, he was puzzled. This was his car? Wasn't this Xiao Xiao's car? What was going on? Could it be that he hit the wrong car? But Yu Feng was the young master of House Yu. So what if he hit the wrong car? How dare he hit the young master of House Yu? Did he not want to live anymore? These few days, Yu Feng had suffered a lot from Lin Yi, Yu Shu, and Xiao Xiao. How could he take it lying down in front of a random person? He jumped up from the ground and looked at Chen Tian coldly, pointing at his Lamborghini. You're the one who smashed my car. Your car? That broken car is yours? Yu Feng looked in the direction Yu Feng was pointing at and frowned. Why would I smash your car? Even if you didn't smash my car, I did smash yours. What are you going to do about it? Yu Feng's face turned dark. You're just a physical practitioner at the early phase of golden class, and you dare act cool in front of me? You really don't know what's good for you. Chen Tian had shown his strength just now, and Yu Feng, naturally, knew who he was. But he didn't know who he was, nor did he know who Sun Jingyi was. He was the trump card of House Yu, and he had never shown his face in public. He didn't interact with other noble houses either. This was why he was able to hide his identity and come to Songshan. Wouldn't he be exposed if someone he knew saw him? What the hell? You smashed my car, and you dare talk to me like that? Don't you know who I am? Chen Tian didn't think that Yufeng wouldn't kneel down and beg for forgiveness after being caught red-handed. Instead, he was acting like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. Chen Tian was infuriated. He wanted to use these three to build up his heroic image in front of Sun Jingyi. I don't need to know who you are. What I do know is that you're dead. Yufeng circulated his qi secretly. He couldn't hold it in any more these few days. In front of Lin Yi, all he could do was hold it in. But in front of these outsiders, he didn't need to hold it in anymore. Since this guy in front of him didn't care, he'd use him to calm his anger. Yufeng smiled coldly. Just a physical practitioner at the early phase of Golden Class. I'll let you know the power of a spiritual practitioner at the peak of the early phase of Mystic Class. A spiritual practitioner at the peak of the early phase of Mystic Class. Chen Tian paused and looked at Yufeng's strong aura. He was a physical practitioner, but he could feel the qi of a spiritual practitioner. The difference between the two was huge, but Chen Tian could tell that Yufeng wasn't weak at all. In fact, he was stronger than him. Just when the tension was high, Lin Yi came with Xiao Xiao. He froze when he saw Yufeng and Chen Tian fighting. But when he saw the Audi TT beside Chen Tian, Lin Yi understood everything. Did Xie Yufeng smash the wrong car? Did he smash Chen Tian's car? But Chen Tian wasn't a match for Yufeng, so Lin Yi had to help him. After all, Lin Yi hated Yufeng more. This Wu Chen Tian, on the other hand, was a little stupid and arrogant. Lin Yi didn't have any special feelings for him. Wu Chen Tian, Xie Yufeng, you guys know each other? Lin Yi pretended not to see the conflict between the two and asked curiously. Fuck, Yufeng was going crazy. Yes, he really was going crazy. Why was Lin Yi like a ghost? Why did he appear everywhere? He was just about to use his qi to teach Chen Tian a lesson, and now Lin Yi was here. Yufeng quickly retracted his qi in fright. He couldn't let Lin Yi discover his true strength. Chapter 1049. He had to endure. One had to admit that Lin Yi was quite a bad guy when he started playing dirty, even worse than Xiao Xiao and Yushu. Lin Yi had been an assassin before, and assassins were people who would do anything to kill. Other than assassination, getting someone else to do the dirty work was also the highest level of an assassin. If he could get someone else to do the dirty work, then why not? Lin Yi had a pretty good grasp of the situation now. Yufeng's Lamborghini was smashed, and Chen Tian's Audi was parked right where the Lamborghini was yesterday. Naturally, Yufeng thought that it was the owner of the Audi who smashed it. And the owner of this Audi, from Yufeng's point of view, was Xiao Xiao. In the entire school, only Xiao Xiao had an Audi TT, and so Yufeng was certain that he and Xiao Xiao were the ones who smashed his car. Yufeng was probably afraid of exposing his strength in front of him, so he didn't dare smash his car, afraid that he would cause trouble for him. He could only use Xiao Xiao's car to vent his anger. But little did he know that Xiao Xiao didn't drive here at all, coming in Lin Yi's car. The Audi parked here was Chen Tian's. How strong was Chen Tian? How strong was Xie Yufeng? Lin Yi knew very well. If these two were to really fight, Chen Tian would be the one at a disadvantage. But Lin Yi couldn't let Chen Tian lose now. In comparison, Lin Yi hated Yufeng more, and Chen Tian still had to treat him and Xiao Xiao to a feast. What was the point of eating if he got hurt? And so, Lin Yi spoke up, and Yufeng dispersed his qi. His expression was one of pain and helplessness. Wah, Iron Fist, bro. Are you going to show off your Iron Fist? Hurry up and use your Iron Fist to cripple this guy. It's time to show off your heroic spirit. Xiao Xiao saw that Chen Tian and Yufeng were fighting, cheering. She didn't want Iron Fist to lose, either. After all, he still had to treat her to a feast. How could she eat if he got beaten to death? Really, Chen Tian was overjoyed when he heard Xiao Xiao's words. He thought to himself, this girl sure knows what I'm doing. She's working with me to act cool the moment she arrived. Treating her to a few more meals wouldn't be a loss. With her around, wouldn't my heroic image be established? Sun Jingyi will also like me. Yeah, if you look at TV dramas, you're usually the male lead. Now is the time for the male lead to show his power. Hurry up and kill him. Xiao Xiao continued to bluff. This Xie Yufeng was really annoying, and Xiao Xiao was pissed off at him. She didn't have much time left, and Xiao Xiao wanted to enjoy her friendship and love in this limited time. But this Yufeng just had to come and mess with her, annoying her. This guy was wasting her life. Xiao Xiao didn't have time to deal with him. And so, from Xiao Xiao's point of view, if Iron Fist Wu could cripple this Xie Yufeng and make him stay in the hospital for a year and a half, that'd be awesome. She'd be dead by the time he came out, and he wouldn't even be able to find her for revenge. He'd probably be in the hospital again. All right, no problem. Watch me teach this little bastard a lesson. Shen Tian was pumped up by Xiao Xiao's words. He raised his hand and smashed it at Yufeng. Yufeng's eyes were filled with venom. He hated Lin, Yi, and Xiao Xiao to the core. These two came at the right time, right at the right time. Were they doing this on purpose? Moreover, this trap to smash the car, was it deliberately set up by them? Yufeng was furious, but his mind was clear. He knew that this wasn't a trap, and he could only treat it as a coincidence. A wise man knows when to retreat, and revenge is a dish best served cold. With that thought, Yufeng took a deep breath and looked at Qintian. Bro, how much is your car? I'll pay you. Pay? Do I look like a penniless person to you? Qintian raged. I'm using you to act cool. How am I supposed to act cool if you pay me? Qintian, naturally, wouldn't let this go so easily. Without waiting for him to speak, he started using his iron fist arts and started beating Yufeng up. Yufeng was humiliated. He was the young master of House Yu, and he'd been beaten up twice in just 2 days. He'd even been injured once. How was he supposed to live like this? What kind of people did Lin Yi have around him? Why were they all like this? Yufeng didn't even have time to think before the fist landed on his body. He could only protect his vitals and crouch on the ground, not daring to fight back. He was afraid that Lin Yi would notice his chi. Lin Yi, just you wait. One day, I'll return the humiliation I've suffered today to you tenfold, 100-fold. After a while, Qintian realized that Yufeng wasn't fighting back, and he felt that it was pointless. Beating a dead man didn't make him look heroic at all, so he kicked Yufeng when he was tired. Are you dead or not? If you're not, get up and pay me. Yufeng was a mystic early phase peak. How could he be knocked out so easily by a golden class early phase physical practitioner? He got up from the ground gloomily, took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and asked, how much? 5 million. Qintian called out. What? Yufeng paused. An Audi TT for 5 million? What kind of joke was this? 5 million was enough to buy 10 of them. Hurry up, stop bullshitting. Do you want to get beaten up again? Did I not beat you up enough just now? Qintian glared at him angrily. You motherfucker. Yufeng couldn't take it anymore. A golden class, early phase physical practitioner dared to talk to him like this? Did he not want to live anymore? Yufeng was at his limit. He had an urge to kill this guy, even if he had to expose his strength. If Lin Yi interfered, he'd kill Lin Yi on the spot. Even if someone came to investigate, Yufeng could say that he didn't know Lin Yi's background. It was just a conflict that turned into a tragedy. He couldn't be blamed, right? He didn't do it on purpose. Plus, it was the enemy who started it. Songming saw that Yufeng was about to reveal his strength and jumped in fright. He ran over and grabbed Yufeng's hand. Master Xia, hold it in. We have to hold it in. Chapter 1050. His girlfriend admires others, but Lin Yi still killed Ubide and injured Uncle Pai. And so, Yufeng knew that if he really killed Lin Yi today, it'd be fine if Lin Yi didn't have a strong background. But if he did, then House Yu would be in danger after he killed Lin Yi. If the hidden House Yu didn't come out, then the common world would be the one in trouble. With that thought, Yufeng gritted his teeth. All right, Songming, give him 5 million. Qintian was just saying it casually. Wasn't that what this thing was? He was asking for a high price, waiting for Xie Yufeng to pay him back. Qintian's bottom line was 500,000, and he only spent 500,000 on the car. He hadn't even registered it yet, so he didn't lose anything. But who knew that this idiot Yufeng would agree? Chen Tian was overjoyed. He didn't think that he could be this strong when he acted like a hero. The guy was scared. Yufeng transferred 5 million to Chen Tian's account and brought Song Ming and Penghu back to school depressed. He was a little confused. Back when he was studying in Yanjing, how prestigious was he? He didn't even need to use House Yu's name, and he was the king of the school. He didn't even need to use his chi to deal with the students, and he became the focus of the school. He could get whatever he wanted, and he could hook up with any girl he wanted. If it didn't work, he could just throw money at them. He was basically successful. But after arriving at Songshan, it seemed to have completely changed. His handsome face didn't work anymore, and the girls here seemed to have a problem with their taste. They all liked Lin Yi, tough guys and not pretty boys like him. What kind of taste was that? Plus, the girls here didn't seem to like money, and his advantage was gone. Lin Yi, just you wait. Once I get to know your background, I'll take your life. And your girls, I'll take them all. Yufeng said angrily as he walked. Yeah, Lin Yi is too much. We'll kill him sooner or later. Song Ming said. On the other side, Chen Tian's Audi was smashed, and he couldn't drive it anymore. He could only ride with Sun Jingyi. Jingyi, can I ride with you? Chen Tian said, embarrassed. I can't drive this car anymore. Sun Jingyi naturally didn't want Chen Tian to ride with her, but she couldn't let him ride with Lin Yi either. Lin Yi and Chen Tian weren't close, and it wasn't guaranteed that Lin Yi didn't have a car. Jingyi didn't know that the Beetle was Lin Yi's car. Lin Yi, you sit in the front passenger seat. Sun Jingyi hesitated and said to Lin Yi. Since Chen Tian's car couldn't be driven, she could only let him sit in her car, but Sun Jingyi definitely didn't want Chen Tian to sit next to her. Lin Yi's attention was on Yufeng and Chen Tian, and when he heard Sun Jingyi's words, he turned to look at Sun Jingyi. He was stunned. The person in front of him was Sun Jingyi, but compared to the Sun Jingyi he saw last time, she was much more youthful and lively. Sun Jingyi's appearance could be said to be very old-fashioned, pretending to be mature, but now it seemed that this was Sun Jingyi's true face. Right now, Sun Jingyi looked about the same age as Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. Even if she was older, it wouldn't be more than 1 or 2 years. Xiao Xiao looked at Sun Jingyi, then at Lin Yi, and couldn't help but frown. Just what was the relationship between this pretty girl and Lin Yi? Why did she let Lin Yi sit in the front passenger seat? They weren't here to ruin the good things between her and Lin Yi, were they? Xiao Xiao didn't want to fight with her love rival anymore. She didn't know how many days she had left to live, and if she wasted it on fighting with her love rival, how was she supposed to enjoy love? She just made friends with Tang Yun and Yu Shu, and she didn't have to worry about fighting with them. Where did this Sun Jingyi come from? Lin Yi, honey, what's your relationship with this pretty girl? Xiao Xiao whispered into Lin Yi's ear. Pretty girl. Lin Yi blinked, not sure if he should laugh or cry at the nickname Xiao Xiao gave Sun Jingyi. Nothing, just a fake lover to trick Chen Tian. Oh, Xiao Xiao calmed down after hearing that it was just a fake lover. As far as she was concerned, it didn't matter if it was real or fake. As long as it didn't threaten her position as a small wife, it didn't matter. And since Lin Yi was just Sun Jingyi's fake lover, Xiao Xiao naturally wouldn't worry about Sun Jingyi fighting with her. With that thought, Xiao Xiao agreed without hesitation. Then hurry up and sit in the front passenger seat. Then you'll sit in the back with Chen Tian? Lin Yi blinked, not expecting Xiao Xiao to be this generous. Yeah, that idiot just got 5 million. That's 5 million. I'll think of a way to get more, and then we'll be rich. Xiao Xiao said sneakily. Huh? Lin Yi smiled. 5 million wasn't much to Lin Yi, but since Xiao Xiao was so interested, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't stop her from scamming people. Iron Fist bro, it's been a while since I talked to you. Let's sit in the back, and you can tell me more about your recent heroic deeds. Xiao Xiao smiled as she waved at Chen Tian. Her eyes squinted into a line, her face full of admiration. Chen Tian was still holding a grudge against Sun Jingyi letting Lin Yi sit in the front passenger seat. But after hearing Xiao Xiao's words, he started smiling again. If Xiao Xiao was in the back row, she'd be able to act cool with him, and that'd be a pretty good thing. It was much better than sitting in the front. With that thought, Chen Tian quickly nodded. All right, I'll tell you about some of the recent things. Sun Jingyi looked at Xiao Xiao and frowned. Was this girl Lin Yi's girlfriend or Chen Tian's pursuer? Why was she so passionate about Chen Tian in front of Lin Yi? What was going on? Is this your girlfriend? Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi and asked softly. Yeah, Lin Yi didn't deny it. Since he'd accepted Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi naturally treated her as his girlfriend. Oh, but she seems to like Chen Tian a lot. Sun Jingyi reminded Lin. He, like him? Ha, you'll know soon. Lin Yi knew that Sun Jingyi meant well, so he wasn't angry. Chapter 1051. Chapter 1049. Xiao Xiao's true goal to got in the car, and Sun Jingyi asked directly, "Where are we going?" Ugh. Chen Tian wasn't familiar with Songshan. It was a sudden idea to treat Sun Jingyi to a meal. He didn't know where exactly to eat, and now he was in a difficult spot. He couldn't just say he didn't know, could he? He could only laugh it off. There aren't any good restaurants in Songshan. It's far from Yinjing. That's true. The best hotel in Songshan is Starlight Hotel. It's a far cry from the big restaurant in Yinjing that Iron Fist Bro treated us to last time. Xiao Xiao nodded. A high-class person like Iron Fist Bro would definitely go to the best restaurant. Haha, it's not that high class. As long as Jingyi likes it, it's high class everywhere. Chen Tian was very pleased with Xiao Xiao's cooperation. But let's go to Starlight Hotel then. It's not as good as Yinjing, but it's a good place in the countryside. I often receive customers there. Chen Tian had a company in Songshan, and if he didn't know about the hotels in Songshan, wouldn't it be a little fake? In order to not arouse Sun Jingyi's suspicion, he followed Xiao Xiao's lead and went to Starlight Hotel. And he couldn't thank Xiao Xiao enough in his heart. She was so cooperative. Bro Chen Tian, what did you just say? Receive customers? Did you open a company here? Xiao Xiao asked. Chen Tian almost kneeled down and kowtowed at Xiao Xiao's words. You really are my mother. You know me too well. This level of cooperation was the best in the world. I was just about to bring the topic to my company. Haha, I opened a trading company. Here's my name card. With that, Chen Tian took out his name card box from his pocket and took out a few name cards, giving one each to Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi, and Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi was driving, so after taking the name card, she threw it to the side. Lin Yi, on the other hand, took a look and put it in his pocket. Only Xiao Xiao, after taking the name card, opened her eyes wide in shock. Wow. Is this the legendary gold-plated name card? I heard that only the CEOs of the world's top companies use such high-end business cards, right? This is the symbol of success. It's just a business card. Chen Tian was delighted. It's such a big company. It'd be weird if we didn't do something to show off. That's true. Xiao Xiao nodded. Looks like your company is pretty big, Bro Chen Tian. You must be making a lot of money, right? It's all right. It's just some pocket money. Chen Tian nodded mysteriously. A day's worth of profit is only enough to buy a few Audi TTs. Wow, that's amazing. I had to save up for years just to afford an Audi TT. And you could buy a few in a day, Bro Chen Tian? Xiao Xiao's eyes were wide open, twinkling like little stars in her eyes. This is just the beginning. We'll make more money in the future. Chen Tian said proudly. Then should I call you Bro Chen Tian? Or CEO Wu? Xiao Xiao asked. Haha, either is fine, either is fine. Chen Tian could feel the pores on his body opening up. This Xiao Xiao was practically made for his career as a pretentious prick. House Wu is one of the noble houses, and with their resources and connections, it's easy for them to start a company and make money. As long as you're not an idiot, you'll be able to make money. Sun Jingyi said coldly. Why? Chen Tian froze, his face turning awkward. Sun Jingyi was right. If a noble house's heirs started a business, they wouldn't lose money at all. They had connections all over the place, and as long as they found the right path, they'd be able to make a lot of money. But Chen Tian didn't have the heart to do business at all. He only started a company to show off in front of Sun Jingyi, so he was losing money instead of making a single cent. According to what Sun Jingyi said, he'd become an idiot and an idiot. But Chen Tian couldn't refute that, because it'd be confirming the fact that he was an idiot. That's true, but that depends on how much you earn. There aren't many people like you, Bro Chintian, earning money every day, which means that you're a very powerful person. Xiao Xiao said. Chintian's face lit up with joy when he heard Xiao Xiao's words. This Xiao Xiao was just too much to his liking. Madam, that's great. She solved the awkwardness with just one sentence. She made him one of the best among the noble houses. Huh, I'm just a little bit stronger than the average person. Chintian said proudly. Yeah, didn't you see how domineering Bro Chintian was when he taught those bastards a lesson? Xiao Xiao said in admiration. Bro Chintian said, do I look like someone without money? So imposing. Haha, that's right, a bunch of bastards thinking that they'd lose money after wrecking my car. Dream on. If I didn't beat them up so badly that they couldn't even recognize each other, then I wouldn't be Iron Fist Wu. Chintian laughed heartily. He'd already accepted the nickname Iron Fist Wu. He felt that it was very domineering. Yeah, the money they paid was nothing to you, Bro Chintian. It was just a day's profit, right? Xiao Xiao asked. Of course, 5 million is nothing to me. Chintian nodded in agreement. It's just a day's worth of profit, I guess. Yeah, that's what I said. Bro Chintian asked them for money because he wanted to teach them a lesson so that they wouldn't wreck cars so easily in the future. Xiao Xiao nodded. That's right, or else 5 million wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Chintian said, acting cool. Oh, but 5 million is nothing to you, Bro Chintian, but it's a lot of money to a poor person like me. Bro Chintian, why don't you give me the money, and I'll buy a good car? It's not like you're interested in the money anyway. Xiao Xiao said seriously. What? Chintian's eyes went wide, stunned. He didn't think that Xiao Xiao would ask him for money. Sun Jingyi was driving, and her hand shook when she heard Xiao Xiao's words. The car almost went off course. She finally understood what Xiao Xiao meant earlier. She was setting up a trap for Chintian. She pushed Chintian to a high point, and now he couldn't come back down. If he didn't pay up, then what he said before would just be bullshit. Chapter 1052. A step-by-step trap, and this trap was a step-by-step trap, making Chintian fall into the trap unknowingly. He wasn't prepared at all. Boiling a frog in warm water pushed Chintian to a new height. If he didn't agree to Xiao Xiao's request, then his high and mighty image would crumble instantly, and he would fall from his high position. Jingyi knew very well what kind of person Chintian was. He liked to show off, and in a nice way, he liked to be in the limelight, but in a bad way, he liked to show off. It wasn't very elegant for a girl to say it, but it made sense. Xiao Xiao had been working with Chintian to act cool the whole time, making Chintian look like an extremely powerful businessman, earning tons of money every day. He didn't even care about 5 million. Sun Jingyi understood why Chintian would brag in front of her. He wanted to show off in front of her, so that she would worship him. But Chintian's idea was a failure. Sun Jingyi knew what kind of person he was, and Sun Jingyi didn't like people like him at all. Sun Jingyi liked smart men, but of course, they had to have strength as well. From the looks of it, Lin Yi agreed with the first point, but whether or not he had the strength remained to be seen. In Sun Jingyi's eyes, Lin Yi was just a backup boyfriend, so Sun Jingyi didn't care about the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. She hadn't made up her mind yet, so there was no need for her to participate in the competition. Even if she had made up her mind, Sun Jingyi wasn't confident that Lin Yi would be able to get her family's approval. So, under these circumstances, Sun Jingyi wouldn't do anything. From her perspective, from the day she left home, she only had 2 choices for love. One was to find a man strong enough, stronger than Chintian, and shut her family up completely. The other way was to find a man that she liked, secretly be with him, and live a shady life. At least on the surface, this relationship couldn't be made public. It wasn't a big deal to Sun Jingyi, but she was afraid that her family would secretly take revenge on that man. That was the same as harming others. In order to prevent this from happening, if Sun Jingyi chose the second path, she would willingly give up her identity and position, willingly becoming a secret lover. At least on the surface, she had to let that man have a normal and complete family in order to confuse Hao Sun's eyes. As for eloping, Sun Jingyi didn't even think about it. It wasn't realistic. The Sun family's connections and ears were very wide. They could hide it for a while, but they couldn't hide it forever. There would be a day when it would be exposed. At that time, there would be big trouble. Sometimes, Sun Jingyi was very sad. Her parents were dead, and her position in the Sun family was a little unloved. If it weren't for the fact that old Sun was still alive and doted on her a lot, her uncles and aunts would have pushed her to the edge a long time ago. Doing business in Songshan, without elder Sun's permission, she would have been captured and married to Qintian a long time ago. How could she wait for Qintian to chase after her? So, in Sun Jingyi's heart, she had a natural dislike for Qintian, not to mention liking him. Now that Qintian was humiliated in front of Xiao Xiao, she was very happy to see it. It'd be best if Xiao Xiao came every day to humiliate Qintian, making him unable to stay in Songshan anymore. Qintian's face was red, and he didn't know how to answer. Yes, he was a little reckless, but no matter how reckless he was, he knew that money was a good thing. The money he brought from the Wu family to pick up girls was only 10 million yuan. Now, he had 5 million yuan in his account. He was feeling smug and was thinking of using the 5 million yuan to show off. In the end, he did show off, but it didn't achieve the effect he had expected. In his opinion, he would have to show off a few times, right? Now, it was all used up after one time. Wasn't it a little too expensive? At this rate, he wouldn't be able to use the 10 million twice. But some things had already been said, and if he went back on his words now, not only would he lose his image, but he was also worried that Xiao Xiao would get angry and not cooperate with him anymore. How would his heroic image stand out then? With that thought, Qintian could only bear with the pain. He gritted his teeth and put on a nonchalant smile. It's fine, it's fine. It's just 5 million, right? It's nothing. Give me your car number. I'll transfer it to you right now. Haha, I knew it. Bro Qintian is really generous. Anyone who marries a man like you would be happy. They probably die from happiness. Xiao Xiao said happily, but it was a little ironic. Happy would die. That's right. Anyone who marries Qintian would probably really die. He didn't even do anything, and he'd already given away 5 million. If this went on, wouldn't he lose all his wealth? Who would want to marry a man like this? Sun Jingyi could hear the sarcasm in her words as well, and she couldn't help but find it funny. This Xiao Xiao was really smart, not taking advantage of the situation. What was even funnier was that the idiot Qintian didn't notice anything amiss. He was grinning like an idiot. Ha, don't fall for me. I already have someone I like. Qintian was very satisfied with Xiao Xiao's compliment, and he made the call with a smile. Sun Jingyi glanced at Lin Yi and saw that he was calm, as if he was used to this kind of thing. She couldn't help but frown, and she became even more curious about Lin Yi. 5 million wasn't much to House Sun, but to Sun Jingyi, it was a huge sum of money. Sun Jingyi's trading company didn't even make 5 million a year, and Lin Yi's wife could easily scam 5 million. But Lin Yi didn't seem to care at all. Was he pretending to be calm, or did he not care about the money at all? Xiao Xiao looked like she was born in a rich family, but not a very rich one. Otherwise, she wouldn't be interested in Qintian's 5 million. But Lin Yi didn't care about it. What a strange combination. Sun Jingyi drove into the parking lot of Starlight Hotel and parked the car in an empty spot. Chapter 1053. Keep screwing over, sir. Is there a total of 4? A waiter came over the moment they entered the hotel lobby, asking Qintian and Lin. Yes, give us a room. Qintian nodded. Sir, you 4 are here for breakfast, right? Why don't you take a booth? There's a minimum fee for a room, and it's quiet at this hour. There's no one. The waiter reminded them kindly. After all, it was early in the morning, and people usually came to the hotel for breakfast. Breakfast didn't cost much, and they couldn't spend tens of thousands all of a sudden. It wasn't even enough to cover the minimum fee for a room. Qintian frowned when he heard this. He'd spent so much effort to treat Sun Jingyi to a meal, and he was here to show off, but the waiter's words made him feel like the waiter was looking down on him. What kind of status did he have? He was the grandson of the noble House Wu. Why would he care about the minimum fee? And with his current identity, He was the big boss of Songsan City. He could afford to eat a meal here. What's the minimum fee? Chintian frowned, impatient. The waiter here was good at reading people's body language, and he knew that Chintian was getting impatient. He didn't care about the minimum fee. He was rich. But the doorman told him that they came in an Audi A4L. How much was an Audi A4L? Even if they were rich, they might not be able to spend tens of thousands on a meal, right? At that thought, the waiter wasn't sure about Chintian's spending level. The rooms here were separated into different classes, and if he said too much, he was afraid that Chintian wouldn't be able to afford it. He'd lose face, and if he said too little, he was afraid that Chintian would think that he was looking down on him. Chintian bro is a big boss. His name card is made of gold. Why would he care about the minimum fee? Xiao Xiao spoke up. Today, Chintian bro's car got smashed, and they paid him 5 million, but he didn't even look at it before giving it to me. You're questioning someone like him for not being able to afford the minimum fee? Chintian looked at Xiao Xiao, thinking, you really know how to fight for me, aren't you? Very good. It seems that this 5 million is not a loss. If you can build up my image in front of Sun Jingyi today and let me win her heart, then this money will not be wasted. The waiter paused. So, he drove an Audi A4L here because his car was smashed. What kind of car could be smashed and get 5 million yuan as compensation? No matter what, it should be at the level of Bentley or Rolls-Royce, right? Plus, Chintian didn't even care about the compensation, giving it to the people around him. Just how rich was he? Our business cards made of gold. Now that 1 gram of gold had risen to more than 300 yuan, a business card should be at least 2 or 3 grams, right? Then, the cost would be over 1,000 yuan. Is this a business card? If an ordinary person obtained a business card, wouldn't they become rich? It seemed like the people Chintian interacted with were all important people, or else people would be fighting over his name card. Rich people, definitely rich people. The waiter thought about this and quickly said, Sir, the most luxurious room here is the Crystal Palace on the top floor. It's currently vacant, but the minimum fee is 500,000. 500,000? The minimum fee was 500,000? Chintian froze. This restaurant sure was shady. He had only brought 10 million with him. After deducting the 1 million used to open Xiao Wangba's company and buy a car, he only had 8 million left. This meal had already cost him 500,000. Wasn't that a little too much? From what Chintian saw, a small rural place like Songshan was a world of difference from Yanjing. Even the most expensive restaurant would only cost 30 to 50,000 at most. How much more expensive could it be? The 8 million he had was enough for him to show off a few times, but now it seemed like the situation was different. The waiter heard Chintian say 500,000 and didn't say anything else, thinking that Chintian thought that 500,000 was too little. She quickly added, Of course, 500,000 for a meal isn't enough to show how noble you are, sir. After all, there are only 4 of you this time, and no matter how expensive the food is, it won't cost too much. Of course, of course. Chintian relaxed when the waiter changed his words. This waiter was quite perceptive, seeing that he thought 500,000 was too much. Perfect. He wouldn't lose face if she said it out loud. She was right. There were only 4 of them, and they couldn't eat that much. No matter how expensive the food was, it wouldn't cost too much. Chintian was feeling proud of himself when he heard the waiter continue. Even if all 4 of you want bird's nest, shark's fin, abalone, and sea cucumber, 500,000 is the most you can ask for. So, I recommend that you get a VIP card here, sir. As long as you deposit 5 million, you can enjoy the treatment of a VIP, and you can reserve the best rooms in the Crystal Palace at any time. There's no minimum spending limit for any room, and you can even enjoy a 20% discount on all the dishes. This is exclusive to VIPs. This VIP card seemed to offer discounts, but it reflected the privileged identity of a VIP. So, in the eyes of the rich, it wasn't that they were looking down on them, but that they had the right to stand out from the masses. Moreover, not everyone could take out 5 million to apply for a meal card. Those who could take out this much money to apply for a card, when they went to the Crystal Palace's private room, who would have the nerve to order those cheap dishes. A meal that cost a few thousand would be too embarrassing to eat in the Crystal Palace. Why? Shintian was dumbfounded. 5 million? Apply for a VIP card? Are you kidding me? 500,000 was already a lot. And now, 5 million? Was this a scam? However, the reason he came out today was to establish his image and show off. If he flinched at the mention of 5 million, then his previous image would have been in vain. So, he could only grit his teeth and bear with it. 5 million's a piece of cake. But I'm usually too busy with business, and I don't have many meals and songs on. After this 5 million card is completed, I'll probably only use it once. After that, who knows where it'll go? Shintian was trying to say, hurry up and bring us to the room. I don't care about the discount, but I don't want the hassle of eating here even if I get a card. I see. The waiter nodded, not suspecting anything, but she was a little disappointed. After all, she would get a portion of the reward for getting a card. Chapter 1054. Chapter 1052. Waste 5 million inch, Ha! Shintian's expression was weird. He was a little angry. This Xiao Xiao. Even if she wanted to play along with him, she had to understand the situation first. He clearly didn't have that much money, so why did he need to get a card? That was 5 million. How could he not care? But now, Shintian felt like he was being forced into a corner. He really had to get this card. Fuck. Since he'd already given her 5 million, he didn't need another 5 million. Phone girl, I spent a lot of money on you today. You need to build up your image. Whether or not I can get Sun Jingyi is all up to you. Shintian gritted his teeth. All right, I'll get card then. All right, sir, please follow me. The waiter was overjoyed when he heard that Shintian had changed his mind. He was a little envious of Xiao Xiao. This Shintian really was a rich landowner. He was so rich. He'd spent 5 million just like that. The VIP card didn't have to be 5 million. The lowest was 1 million, but he wouldn't get a discount. But Shintian acted like he was rich the moment he walked in. So the waiter recommended him the highest level card. Xiao Xiao, go do it. Shintian's heart was bleeding, but he had to be a good person to the end. He'd already promised Xiao Xiao, so he could only let her do it. Shintian regretted it a little. If he'd known this would happen, he would have just nodded and agreed to it. That way, the card would still be his, but now it was Xiao Xiao's after a few words of bullshit. He'd spent 5 million for nothing. He'd spent 10 million in this short amount of time. Did this Xiao Xiao really think he was that rich? But it seemed like his image in her heart was indeed that rich. Otherwise, why would Xiao Xiao worship him so much? Why would she always say nice things about him in front of Sun Jingyi? In fact, if it weren't for Sun Jingyi being there and Xiao Xiao not being Lin Yi's girlfriend, Shintian would have dragged her to the hotel and pushed her onto the bed a long time ago, based on how much Xiao Xiao worshipped Shintian. But now, Shintian didn't dare. One reason was that Sun Jingyi was here, and he didn't dare do anything that would make Sun Jingyi misunderstand or dislike him. The second reason was that if he pushed Xiao Xiao down, Lin Yi would have even more reason to get close to Sun Jingyi. If he pushed Xiao Xiao to his side and told Sun Jingyi about it, the two of them would be a couple, and Shintian would be in big trouble. Sun Jingyi smiled coldly at Shintian's retarded actions. With your standard, you still want to chase after me? Dream on. Sun Jingyi finally understood how powerful Xiao Xiao was. It hadn't been long, and Shintian had already spent 10 million. Lin Yi knew Xiao Xiao's personality from the start. She was one of those unlucky people who bumped into her. Other than not messing with Lin Yi, she would mess with whoever she didn't like. After getting the card, Xiao Xiao happily came back with the waitress. Shintian transferred the money again. His heart hurt. Fortunately, Xiao Xiao praised him a few more times, and he was over the moon again. Now that the 5 million card was in Xiao Xiao's hands, she wouldn't spend it recklessly. She wanted it to be a long time. No matter how unlucky she was, she could at least live for a month or two, right? Lunch and dinner were settled for this month or two, and this made Xiao Xiao extremely happy. Naturally, she couldn't spend it all in one day, so Xiao Xiao waved her hand. The Crystal Palace's room is a bit too big for the four of us. It's too spacious. Let's change to a smaller room. Tian almost spat out blood after hearing Xiao Xiao's words. They already got the 5 million card. Why didn't they experience the VIP treatment of the Crystal Palace? Why did they have to change to a smaller room? Although the Crystal Palace didn't have a minimum spending limit, it wouldn't look good to only order 10 or 20,000. Xiao Xiao naturally had to be careful with what she got, and so she asked for a smaller room. It didn't matter if she spent less money that way. Tian wanted to retort, but he was afraid that Xiao Xiao would be pissed if he did, and she wouldn't play along with him when they ate. He stopped himself and changed his words. All right, let's go to a smaller room then. It'll be quieter and less crowded. Yes, sir. The waiter didn't care. The 5 million yuan card was already made. It didn't matter where the customers wanted to go. Anyway, the 5 million yuan was definitely going to be spent here. As for whether they ate this time or not, it didn't matter. They entered the room, and the waitress took out the menu for Tian to order. Jingyi, Xiao Xiao, Linny, Lil Bro, what do you guys want to eat? Tian flipped open the menu, his eyes going back and forth between the expensive delicacies. He'd already spent 5 million, and he could only eat it once. Naturally, he wanted more delicious food to enjoy. That was his own money. There were many delicacies that he hadn't tried before, and he wanted to try them all today. Even if he didn't spend all 5 million, he had to spend at least 3 million. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Xiao Xiao held her card in her hand, getting nervous when she saw Tian ordering those expensive dishes. She wanted to spend it slowly. She didn't want to spend it all in one day. Linny looked at Xiao Xiao, finding it funny, but he still said, "We don't want the seafood." Xiao Xiao is allergic to it. She got sick after eating seafood in Yinjing last time. Xiao Xiao heard Lin Yi's words and gave him a thumbs up under the table. Lin Yi's honey was so awesome. She was just thinking about how to get Tian to order less, and Lin Yi helped. No wonder that Yushu girl liked to stick to Lin Yi so much. Lin Yi's methods were top-notch as well. Tian paused, his face turning bitter. I can't eat seafood? Then, what other expensive dishes are there? In the restaurant, the most expensive dishes were all related to seafood, so of course the seafood wasn't allowed. It's early in the morning, let's eat something light. Forget about the big fish and meat. Sun Jingyi was a shrewd person. How could she not see what Xiao Xiao was thinking? Since Lin Yi was helping her, Sun Jingyi wouldn't mind helping her screw Tian over. Sun Jingyi thought that she was on Lin Yi's side. As for Tian, go play somewhere else. Chapter 1055. Admitting her identity, Sun Jingyi smiled and took the menu, ordering a few dishes that were relatively light. They weren't very cheap, but compared to the delicacies, it was extremely cheap. The dishes added up to less than 8,000. This made Tian's face change slightly, but these dishes were ordered by Sun Jingyi. What could he say? What could he say? Take a look. Sun Jingyi passed the menu to Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't look at it and passed it to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao didn't hold back and ordered a few of her favorite dishes, but they weren't very expensive. They were all cheap and delicious. As for the weird dishes, Xiao Xiao naturally didn't order them. After all, it was her own money now. She had to live a long life. That's all, Xiao Xiao said, and passed the menu back to the waiter. Tian wanted to add a few more, but before he could say anything, Xiao Xiao continued. Big bro Tian is a big boss. He's sick of eating those single-headed abalones. There's nothing good here, so why not change to something lighter? Otherwise, ordering too many delicacies will ruin big bro Tian's image. Wah! Tian froze and waved his hand with a smile. That's right. These things are too crappy. It's better to eat something lighter. It's early in the morning, and it's bad for your stomach. The waiter didn't think there was anything wrong with it. The guy had already made a 5 million VIP card. He could eat whatever he wanted. Even if he didn't want to eat, he had to greet him with a smile if he wanted a few free plates. 5 million, just like that, was enough to show off Tian's wealth. Who would spend money like this without a few hundred million? The waiter took the menu and left the room. Tian's heart ached for a while before he remembered today's business. Today, he wanted to invite Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to prove their relationship in front of Sun Jingyi. If this was done, then his 10 million wouldn't be wasted. Old bro Lin, this is the first time Xiao Xiao has met Jingyi, right? As the host, let me introduce them to you. With that, Chen Tian stood up with a smile and introduced her to son Jingyi. Jingyi, this is Lin Yi's girlfriend, Feng Xiao Xiao. We met at the auction in Yanjing, and we got along quite well. Hello, Xiao Xiao. You don't mind me calling you that, do you? Sun Jingyi smiled as she extended her hand to Xiao Xiao. This was their first official meeting. If you don't mind, I'll call you Big Sis Jingyi. Xiao Xiao had found out about Sun Jingyi's identity from Lin Yi, and she didn't rule her out either. As long as they weren't here to cause trouble between her and Lin Yi, Xiao Xiao would accept them easily. Then I'll call you little sister Xiao Xiao. Sun Jingyi smiled and nodded. Xiao Xiao, this is Sun Jingyi, she's... Jingyi, how should I introduce you to Lin Yi? Chen Tian looked at Sun Jingyi with a troubled expression, giving this difficult problem to Sun Jingyi. Chen Tian was a little arrogant, but he wasn't stupid. At least he knew that letting Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi come to eat with Sun Jingyi and expose the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi was a strategy. At this time, putting out the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi and letting Sun Jingyi explain herself was also a strategy. This also meant that Chen Tian still had some tricks up his sleeves. It was just that Chen Tian was usually arrogant and liked to act cool, which was why he suffered so many losses in front of Xiao Xiao. Speaking of which, Xiao Xiao had the title of Little Witch in school. How many people hadn't been taken advantage of by her? I'm Lin Yi's lover. Sun Jingyi smiled and nodded at Xiao Xiao. Why? Chen Tian's eyes widened. He never would have thought that Sun Jingyi would say that she was Lin Yi's lover in front of Xiao Xiao. Wasn't this just asking for trouble? Would Xiao Xiao be willing? Would she be able to continue eating? Chen Tian didn't know what Sun Jingyi was thinking. She still dared to say that she was Lin Yi's lover in a situation like this? Before, Chen Tian thought that Lin Yi was two-timing, and Sun Jingyi didn't know about Lin Yi's ugly side. So, he wanted Xiao Xiao and Sun Jingyi to meet. And when Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi had a new lover, she definitely chased Lin Yi away in anger. But things developed out of Chen Tian's expectations. When Sun Jingyi saw Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao holding hands in front of her, Sun Jingyi didn't seem to care at all. Of course, Chen Tian didn't think that this would happen. As far as he was concerned, this meant that Sun Jingyi had nothing to do with Lin Yi, and the so-called relationship with Lin Yi was just a facade. Lin Yi was just someone she grabbed. And so, Chen Tian was very happy. Now, Sun Jingyi wouldn't have an excuse to reject him anymore. But now, something unexpected happened. Sun Jingyi said that she was Lin Yi's lover. What was going on? I've heard a lot about you. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, extended her hand to Jingyi with a serious face. I'll be counting on you, Jingyi sis. You guys. Chen Tian rubbed his eyes. He thought he was dreaming. Why wasn't Xiao Xiao angry? Why was she acting so friendly with Sun Jingyi? What was the meaning of this? What about us? Chen Tian, bro. Xiao Xiao pretended like she didn't know anything and smiled at Chen Tian. You? How could you let your boyfriend find a lover? Chen Tian was flabbergasted as he asked. Oh, what's wrong with finding a lover? If he didn't find a lover, would I be his girlfriend? I'm just Lin Yi's second wife, not the main wife. Even a main wife doesn't object to him finding a second wife. Why would I object? Xiao Xiao explained. Huh? Chen Tian was even more shocked. This Xiao Xiao wasn't Lin Yi's main wife? She was also Lin Yi's second wife? But, as shocked as Chen Tian was, Sun Jingyi was even more shocked. She said that she was Lin Yi's lover, but it was just an agreement with Lin Yi. She was Lin Yi's lover in name, not in reality. Sun Jingyi liked Lin Yi, but before she made up her mind, she wouldn't go any further with Lin Yi. Chapter 1056. So depressing from Sun Jingyi's point of view, it was normal for a man to have multiple wives in a noble house. After all, the men from noble houses were very capable, so it wasn't strange at all. But in the common world, it was a little strange. Walin people had their own rules, and the common world had its own rules. Every level was different. Sun Jingyi couldn't imagine that Lin Yi had multiple wives at such a young age? And from Xiao Xiao's reaction, it could be seen that her relationship with the first wife was very good, and she didn't object to Lin Yi finding another lover. There were only two possibilities that could cause such a situation. One was that these women were idiots. They couldn't find a boyfriend, so they were willing to share a man. But the possibility of this was zero. How outstanding was Xiao Xiao? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that a girl as beautiful as her was 1 in a million. Looking at Xiao Xiao, the first wife couldn't be any worse. Why would a girl like her need to share a man with someone else? The second possibility was that Lin Yi was too outstanding, and these outstanding girls were willing to sacrifice themselves for him. This was the situation in noble houses. But until now, Sun Jingyi didn't think that Lin Yi was outstanding in any way. Was being a bandit a promising career? Jingyi frowned inwardly. She was getting more and more curious about this man. This man seemed to have a lot of secrets on him. Jingyi, you're from a noble house too. How can you be someone else's lover? Qintian's heart was bleeding. He was furious. Sun Jingyi was willing to be a lover for a little tramp, rather than marry him legally? Why? Why? Was he that weak? On the surface, however, he still had to put on the airs of a big brother as he lectured Jingyi. Lil Bro Lin Yi is a great man, but having too many wives is just a waste of a family's harmony. And Jingyi, think about it. If you were to be someone else's lover and Grandpa's son found out, wouldn't he be furious? Really? Couldn't they be lovers? I remember that Grandpa Wu seems to have several wives, right? Sun Jingyi said disapprovingly. Ugh. Qintian paused, his face bitter. Isn't this a different situation? Our Wu family is also an aristocratic family, and aristocratic families are not restricted by the rules of the secular world. Naturally, we can find a few more wives. And the most important thing is that my grandpa is very strong. Those wives don't dare to plot against each other. They are very respectful in front of my grandma. Oh, I'm also from an aristocratic family, so I'm not restricted, Sun Jingyi said lightly. Qintian's face turned ugly. He didn't think that Sun Jingyi would be this stubborn. He told her that Lin Yi was just a normal person, and he couldn't play with so many wives. They'd definitely fight. But in front of Lin Yi, he couldn't say that Lin Yi was useless. If he said that, he'd offend Lin Yi, and when Lin Yi left with Xiao Xiao, wouldn't it be awkward? And if Sun Jingyi left with Lin Yi, it'd be even worse. At that moment, the waiter came in with the dishes. Qintian could only shut his mouth and think of a solution, depressed. What was he supposed to do to turn Jingyi's mind around? Damn it, this Xiao Xiao wasn't jealous at all, and Sun Jingyi was even crazier. She wanted to be Lin Yi's lover. What was so good about this Lin Yi? Qintian couldn't see any good point about Lin Yi, no matter how he looked at him. If it weren't for Sun Jingyi, Qintian really wanted to slap Lin Yi to death, so that he wouldn't get angry in front of him. The dishes were served, and Xiao Xiao didn't care anymore. She ate to her heart's content, sweeping everything on the table clean. She didn't care what other people thought of her. She didn't have long to live, and as long as Lin Yi didn't dislike her, she'd be fine. But Lin Yi was here to eat with Xiao Xiao, and the main goal was to eat. Not only did Lin Yi take the initiative to put food in Xiao Xiao's bowl, but he also told her to eat more. And so, Xiao Xiao ate happily. Sun Jingyi didn't eat much, and she was full after eating a little. Qintian, on the other hand, didn't eat at all. He was feeling depressed. How could he eat? The situation was far from what he expected. As for asking Xiao Xiao to help him act cool, Qintian temporarily gave up on that idea. Jingyi's heart wasn't on him at all, so there was no point in acting cool. What should he do? Qintian furrowed his brows. The most important thing right now was Xiao Xiao's attitude. If she strongly rejected Sun Jingyi, or urged Lin Yi to draw a line with Sun Jingyi, then he could still do something. Otherwise, he had no hope at all. The other method was to call Sun Jingyi's family and tell them that Sun Jingyi was someone else's mistress. But this was a method he couldn't use unless he had no other choice. If Sun Jingyi knew the truth, she'd hate Qintian even more. Tattling behind someone's back was a taboo. Some people were happy, while others were sad. Xiao Xiao ate happily, and Qin Tian was depressed. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were watching him make a fool of himself. Qin Tian had prepared a few tricks to act cool before he came, but he didn't use any of them. He didn't have the mood to use them now. Even with Xiao Xiao's cooperation, there was no point in showing it off. Sun Jingyi's heart wasn't on him. The meal ended in a hurry, and Qin Tian got himself a taxi and left. Jingyi, on the other hand, drove Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi back to school. Once in the car, Sun Jingyi couldn't help but laugh. She gave Xiao Xiao a thumbs up. Lil sis Xiao Xiao, you sure know how to trick people. Qin Tian lost 10 million in one morning. Ha ha ha. Xiao Xiao smiled, pleased with herself. She was quite confident when it came to scamming people, but a fool like Qin Tian was a rare sight to see. Chapter 10:57. More and more curious, sure. Xiao Xiao easily agreed to Sun Jingyi's invitation and sat in the front seat of the Audi A4L. Lin Yi didn't mind, since he could guess Sun Jingyi's goal. Xiao Xiao herself wasn't that familiar to Lin Yi, so Lin Yi wasn't worried that she'd let anything slip. After getting in the car, Sun Jingyi asked, "Where you guys going? Back to where you were before?" "Yeah, back to Songshan's first school," Xiao Xiao nodded. "Oh, okay. Where do you guys live?" Sun Jingyi asked. "We go to school there," Xiao Xiao blurted out, but regretted it immediately. Xiao Xiao wasn't stupid. She knew that she'd fallen into Sun Jingyi's trap. Sun Jingyi was testing her and Lin Yi's identity. From the current situation, it seemed like Sun Jingyi didn't know that Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao were studying at Songshan's first school. Xiao Xiao turned to look at Lin Yi, a little worried. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't show anything special, he was still resting in the back seat with his eyes closed. Only then did she let out a sigh of relief. In fact, the reason why Lin Yi hid his identity was because he was afraid that Sun Jingyi would keep bothering him if she found out where he went to school. That half-lover's promise was a bit of a tie. If Sun Jingyi came to Lin Yi for trouble in the future, would Lin Yi be able to do anything else? Therefore, Lin Yi didn't tell Sun Jingyi that he was a student of First Senior High School. He only told Sun Jingyi to wait for him near First Senior High School. However, during this period of time, Sun Jingyi didn't bother Lin Yi again, so it seemed that Sun Jingyi wasn't the kind of person who would trouble Lin Yi for anything. So, Lin Yi didn't mind telling Sun Jingyi his identity. "You are studying in First High School? Are you all high school students?" Sun Jingyi was taken aback. She previously thought that Lin Yi should be younger than her, but that was also her age after she dressed up. In her opinion, Lin Yi should be about the same age as her actual age, around 20 years old. She never thought that Lin Yi was only a high school student. Wasn't the disparity too great? Lin Yi was actually a student? How was this possible? Wasn't he a great bandit? Yes, a high school student. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't have any special expression, Xiao Xiao told Sun Jingyi the truth. Oh my God! Sun Jingyi confirmed this information and was a little embarrassed. She was already 20 years old. How could she have feelings for a guy younger than her? Ugh. Then why are you Lin Yi's small wife? He has a big wife? Sun Jingyi quickly changed the topic. Yes, he has a big wife. And I'm his small wife, Xiao Xiao nodded quickly. Aren't you Lin Yi's lover too? This lover is only half. It's just a name, he. Sun Jingyi explained. It's just because Wu Qintian is too clingy. I used Lin Yi as a shield. Oh, I see. Xiao Xiao was a little disappointed. I thought I could play 3P with you. Xiao Xiao had gotten bolder after spending more time with Yushu. She was actually quite curious about the 3 batches. After all, she didn't have much time left. She wanted to try anything new. She could tell that Tang Yun was a more traditional and conservative girl. She wouldn't play 3P with her in such a short amount of time. Even if she was alone with Lin Yi, Tang Yun probably wasn't ready yet. As for Yushu, Lin Yi clearly didn't have that kind of feelings for her yet. How could Xiao Xiao not see that? If Lin Yi had that kind of feelings, Meng Yao and Yushu would have been pushed down by Lin Yi a long time ago. After all, they lived in the same villa and interacted with each other every day. And so Xiao Xiao turned her attention to Sun Jingyi. Xiao Xiao was actually quite conservative, but the current situation didn't allow her to be conservative anymore. As far as she was concerned, since she had already decided on Lin Yi, it didn't matter what she did with him. She wouldn't be able to do anything with other men in this lifetime anyway, so she decided to be bold. Wah! Sun Jingyi almost drove the car into the pavement after hearing Xiao Xiao's shocking words. She subconsciously stepped on the brakes. Lin Yi, on the other hand, frowned bitterly. Xiao Xiao and Yushu were becoming more and more alike. He really didn't know if getting them together was a blessing or a curse. But the good thing was that Xiao Xiao didn't have much longer to live, but at the thought, Lin Yi's heart tightened. Was it really good? Lin Yi really didn't want Xiao Xiao to leave. Even if she did it with Yushu, Lin Yi didn't want to lose her. It had only been 2 days, and Xiao Xiao's position in Lin Yi's heart was getting more and more important, especially when he heard that Xiao Xiao had woken up in the middle of the night to make him pastries, especially this morning. Lin Yi was extremely touched, and so Lin Yi really wanted Xiao Xiao to live. Lin Yi sighed softly, started to worry. Haha, I'm just joking. Xiao Xiao quickly shut up after seeing that Sun Jingyi was scared by her words. Haha, it's nothing. It's pretty fun. Sun Jingyi wiped the sweat off her forehead. 3 batches. What a shocking idea. Sun Jingyi came from a noble house, but she was actually quite conservative. Her grandfather and uncles had multiple women, but they didn't say 3 batches at the same time. But at the end of the day, it was still because women didn't get along with each other on the surface, and no one would really try to get close to another person. It was just that in noble houses, the men were more dominant. And so, Sun Jingyi grew up in an environment like this, and she didn't really mind men having multiple wives. This was also why she wanted to be someone else's mistress. But that man had to be someone Sun Jingyi liked. Someone as mediocre as Iron Fist Wu. Sun Jingyi would be depressed for the rest of her life if she married him. Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi glanced at the resting Lin Yi in the rearview mirror, and her curiosity towards Lin Yi grew even stronger. Just what did Lin Yi do to make Xiao Xiao fall in love with him like this? Sun Jingyi could feel that Xiao Xiao really didn't have any hostility towards her at all. In fact, she had the intention to accept her. This situation made Sun Jingyi very confused. Even the concubines of the past emperors were all scheming against each other, let alone the women of noble houses. She had never heard of any of them getting along with each other. But Lin Yi did it. Lin Yi, just what kind of unknown ability did he have? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.